Hello, hello. A very good afternoon to you all, and welcome to another live stream with me, 320 Sim Pilot. I hope you're all doing very well, and I look forward to jumping on this flight. A few of you would have guessed what I'm doing. I've just realised I do not have the overlay set up, so that is now coming to life momentarily. I've been sitting here for ages, and of course I've forgotten something. There we go. Right, okay. So, welcome to another live stream with me, 320 Sim Pilot. Great to have you here. We are going to be back in America, back in the Fenix Simulations A320. I know you've probably seen a lot of Fenix Simulations A320 content, including from myself, of course. But you know, it's such a big moment for Airbus simulation in the industry, and this channel is obviously built on Airbus simulators. That's what we mostly do. I know I do a lot of streams in other aircraft, but we'll always be coming back to the Airbus over and over again. So I don't think there's a problem streaming it again. But I have mixed it up. We're going to fly it in America, which for this channel is unusual. Obviously, if you are living in America, you may not be so excited by this. But yeah, we don't do much flying in the States on this channel. I very much do European stuff, so you can watch me squirm as I struggle with dealing with the scale of American airports. So thank you all for coming along. I hope you're doing very well. It's been not too long since the last live stream. We've done quite well. I'm quite happy that we got another stream running relatively soon after. Lauren V, good to see you. Lauren V says, love that while today's route isn't the usual preferred one, it's often preferred on VATSIM because Salt Lake Center is not very often online, and this route skips around it perfectly. So we actually have a valid route for once. We often have the wrong routes when we fly in America, but Lauren V, our VATSIM expert, will often point that out to us. Marina, Halley, good to see you. Hi, Big Rider Saul. It's great to have you all here. I appreciate chat's been running a little bit on YouTube, so I'm running behind. So I'm just going to do a few shout outs. Pilot Prawn, Pilot Powan, good to see you. Thanks very much for coming along. Nightmare on Scam Street as well. Good to see you, the Gaming Geese. I hope you're doing very well. Chick Point, great to have you here. Freddie Lowe, Victor Tango, and Dougal, thanks for coming along and moderating. Really, really appreciate the help. As well as Lauren V, of course. Real Sim Pilot, good to have you here. High Peak Rider, Mariner, Halley, Becky Davies, great to have you all here. Mr. Espresso, good to see you. Roy, I hope you're doing well. Matteo Chewy, thanks for coming and moderating as well. I hope you're having a very good afternoon, maybe an evening off for once, Matteo, hopefully. Ollie says, do you remember me? I haven't been in for ages due to being very busy. I'm hoping to get back into simming regularly in the summer. Hope you have a good flight and stream. Thanks so much, Ollie. I do, of course, remember you. Thank you for joining us again, and hopefully we'll see you a bit more in the summer and you get a bit of time for some simming. Great to have you here. Iglufu or Greg says, good morning. Good morning to you. Dana J. Suresh, hello to you. Vucci2, good to see you again. Going to be in and out. No problem at all. I know we've done, we'll be streaming for the next couple of hours at least. It's going to be about a 2-hour flight, so you can picture that, turn that into probably a 3.5 hour stream quite easily. And our last 3-hour flight turned into a 5.5 hour stream. So there you go. Yeah, who knows? That's Flight Simulation. Good to see you. That says, I love the streams. I've learned everything from your movies. I'm really glad with that I can show what I've learned in my own live streams to people in Holland. That's Flight Simulation. Thanks very much for coming along. Thanks for saying so. Glad you've been enjoying the streams. Good to see you here. Fly Tim Sim, Rachel, Sean, Delaney. Feels like a work meeting starting. It is indeed, yes. It's like a Zoom meeting. I've not thought of that before. Excellent. Right. Jumping into Twitch. Good to see you on Twitch. We've got a few new followers since last time, of course, where we had a big raid by Svak and Maiku. We ended up with about 2,000 people watching at one point. So great to see you here. Good to see you, Dougal and Conveyance Games. We've got Slowgoat says, hello, thanks for doing well. Same to you. Thanks for joining us, Slowgoat. Fallen Evasive says, anybody here who can help with VATSIM? They're looking for some help with VATSIM. Join the Discord, as a few people have recommended, and you'll get some help there. Thanks for being over there to moderate Dougal and Real Sim Pilots over there as well. Quantum Lotus says, as an American, I'm not interested in flying to anywhere in America either. Okay, maybe the National Park. There you go. Says, would you say this is worth £50? I would say yes. And as Conveyance Game says, easily. I would agree with that. Santa King says, if you feel you can afford it, without a doubt, but fly-by-wire is still really good. So there you go. Indeed. Agreed. It's both are great, but this is well worth the money that is being asked for. In my opinion, I was on the Alpha and Beta team, so I'm slightly biased, only in the sense that I've put some time into it already. But there we go. Right, let me jump into merging the chats. Chris says, greeting from across the pond. Hello to you, Chris. RB says, hey, Captain. Sorry, your message just scrolled off the top. Sorry. Yeah, I'm running way behind. So I'm going to zoom to the bottom here. And yes, of course, we're in another 90s livery. I couldn't resist it. This actually ran until the mid-2000s, I think, 2008, something like that. So it's a relatively outdated livery these days. US Airways no longer around, merged into American Airlines, for those of you who aren't familiar with it. Now, it turns out this route probably wasn't flown by US Airways. I think Lauren was saying that this is actually more of an East Coast airline, which I didn't know was a thing. To me, big American airlines just flew all across America. It never occurred to me that there'd be more dominance on each side of the country. I mean, in Europe, we barely have one airline per country in some cases. So yeah, that was news to me. But here it is, looking just fantastic, as the Fenix so often does. We're going to use live weather. We'll be on VATSIM, and we'll be enjoying a nice, like I say, 2-hour flight. Time to chat, time to ask questions, time to play with the airplane a bit. Thanks for those follows to Iggy, Santi, Athlonic, Milan. Thanks for subscribing. I hope you're all doing very well. Thanks for joining us. Now, it has come up in Discord. Someone very fairly suggested that the alerts were a bit of a nuisance when trying to follow along with the technical side of the streams, so the actual setting up of the airplane and so on. So it's probably not going to happen today, but I'm going to, I think, depending on what you guys think, I'm debating that we would have alerts muted once we get into the cockpit and start setting up, until we sort of get into the climb, and then we can have them back on again. That's something I'll set up, but I don't want to do it until we've got the notification on the screen, so that people know that they're muted. But there we go. That's something to happen for the future. Cameron says East Coast, JetBlue, Spirit, West Coast, Southwest, Alaska, and then American. Delta, United are all over. There you go. Delta and United, massive airlines, aren't they? Of course. But I love this livery. I think it's really, really smart. I didn't like the newer one they had, their last livery, as much. To be honest, I think the new American Airlines livery, I really like it. And I liked this one. I didn't like the in-between one as much. Not to say it was bad. It's just this one is particularly smart. No surprise to regular viewers of the channel. It's probably down to the fact it's got straight lines in it, which I always appreciate in a livery. I'm not a fan of swoopy curved lines. I think they can age. I think they'll age a little bit, and then we'll be back to straight lines. But that's how all things fashion related go. Michael John, thanks so much for your £5 super chat. Very kind, Michael. Michael says, evening, Captain. Hope you're well. As I said in the chat, I've started to buy hardware to build my own PC, as I've realised I have to fly this. Very good, Michael. So thank you so much for your £5. Really, really very kind of you, especially when you're trying to build a PC. So really appreciate it. Thanks for being so generous, and thanks for coming along to join us today. And good luck building your PC. I think it's turning into a better time. Finally, after 2 years, it's finally looking like you can actually build a PC these days. So that's good news for everyone looking to do it, especially those looking to jump into this aeroplane. Yeah, it's really something special. I'm a big fan of it. Not sure quite what's happened to my shadows. I suppose it's this grey overcast sky. Yeah, we haven't got the direct shadow, so it's in this sort of glow thing. Right, so things going on in the Phoenix land. It has been updated since we last flew it. A lot of behind the scenes work, a lot of fixing bugs for people and so on, so that's been good to see. They've been hard at work, the Phoenix team. If you've missed it, I'm sure all of you know what this is by now, but anyone who hasn't, this is a brand new A320, just come out a few days ago for Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's really superb. They've got an incredibly detailed simulation. The aim was to be the most detailed and complete simulation of the Airbus in a home simulator, and I'd say they've achieved that. It's really remarkable. We've got some amazing visual modelling, amazing immersion details, including the boarding and so on, and then we've also got the actual systems sitting underneath it all, underpinning the whole thing. So it lives up to its graphics basically as an Airbus simulation. It's just lovely to use. So that's what we're looking at today. I was on the Alpha and Beta team, actually, for a few months as we were going through. But as I say, my contribution very, very small. Some other people working very, very hard on it. But they did have quite a few real-world pilots giving feedback. Doug, thanks so much for your $1 super chat. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Doug. I hope you're doing well. I don't think I've seen Doug here before, so really, really good to see you. And thanks for your very kind super chat. Rakon, good to see you. Thanks for coming along. Yeah, a bit of a last-minute stream, this one. We were not expecting this one to happen today, but here we go. Cheeky Manta in the background says, Ed, good to see you again, Ed, of course. And yes, we have the Mantas always hanging around. You can't avoid them. How are your FPS on big US airports? My Phoenix suffers on my CPU. Yes, mine too. Fibiga simulations. Mine is my CPU is a 10700K, which by these standards is actually, my graphics card's good, but my CPU is starting to look a little bit dated and is starting to struggle a little bit when I render the screens on it, but it's still the best way around I've got so far. So in big cities, I run on ultra graphic settings. I can see a few drops in the frames using this aircraft. It is quite heavy in those cities in particular. So I've turned down a few things like traffic and so on today. See if we can remove some of that. Right, looking at the exterior model, I don't think much has changed here. It was already astonishing. I mean, their first previews a year ago looked astonishing, and it's only improved since there. Just look at the rivets, every single one in the right place. It's ridiculous, this exterior model. I still can't get over it, and I love filming it and using it for screenshots. Saul says Ryzen i5 4690. Yes, I know. I'm not complaining about my processor, but it's definitely the weak point compared to the graphics card I've got, put it that way. Sean Delaney, thanks so much for your $2 super chat. Really appreciate it. Sean says, honest question, does this make the fly-by-wire obsolete? So, I can answer that quite easily. No. This doesn't make it obsolete. The fly-by-wire is simulating a NEO. This is simulating a CEO. And there is a surprising number of differences in the way those aircraft are set up. Now, this does have some of the more modern avionics upgrades that the NEOs have, like auto TCAS and so on. But even so, in that sense, no, I can see us absolutely flying the fly-by-wire. It's just this is too exciting. We can't not fly this today. Like I say, big moment for the channel, really. Also, the fly-by-wire, crucially, won't be obsolete because it is freeware, and they've done an amazing job with it. And we're going to see so many people using that as their first taste of the Airbus, and what a great taste it has turned into. It really captures the Airbus properly. But this is on another level. This is full failure simulation, full process-driven simulation, I suppose. I don't know what I mean by that, but I'm talking about the way you can handle this like the real aircraft in terms of handling the systems as well. It's quite remarkable. Right. Specs, you can put exclamation mark specs. I'm hoping that CloudBot is alive. Let me just check. It should be. So that will hopefully solve that for you if you're looking for the specs. Thanks for the new follow to Mick. And let's see. So again, I'm going to miss quite a lot in chat because there's quite a lot of you again today. So thank you all for coming along. Really good to have you. And yes, it is time. So this is Cold and Dark. We're on the ground in Denver, an airport we've only been to once. We did an arrival here. I have the first officer with me. She's going to sit here presumably until just after takeoff, after she's got in the way of the rudder pedals, and then she'll disappear, no doubt. But there we go. Yeah, we're going to do Cold and Dark. We're going to load it up from SimBrief. I've got videos on the channel if you're struggling, but we can take questions here, of course. However, I may struggle to answer them on the ground. We'll have time in flight to talk about those. Exclamation mark specs. If you type that into the chat, you'll see them. I'm just saying that now. I could obviously tell you, but I'm just to help avoid me saying them over and over again. Pilot, thanks for the follow. Right, parked up on GPU, typical Cold and Dark. Let's get on with it. So here we are on the flight deck, completely cold and dark, as I said. So those of you who don't know or haven't seen it yet, EFB, very powerful. My SimBrief username is linked, so I'm just going to tap that. Oh no, I haven't seen this before. Please ensure the fuel units you're ordering in match the aircraft setup. Now this is something that I've noticed is quite clever. They have, I think it's going to be in pounds. That's going to be really interesting. I'm going to have to do some converting myself here because I didn't think of that. That's because we're obviously flying in America. I might, let me check. Well, we'll see what our SimBrief says. But anyway, there's our flight. We're going from Denver to Los Angeles, leaving at 16:30. That's not going to happen. That's in about half an hour. 15 minutes from now. So let's just update that. So we'll go for, let's do 16:50. That seems more reasonable. Half an hour. That's a normal time to arrive at the airplane, about 35 minutes before. Roy Marks, thanks so much for £25 super chat. Really appreciate it. Roy says, thank you for all the help you give the community. I've learned so much from your streams. Oh, sorry, excuse me. And videos. At some stage during the stream, can you please explain the setting of the trim wheel for takeoff? I can explain that absolutely, Roy. So keep watching. I will talk about that, and someone remind me when we get to the trim setting why to get me to talk about it. No problem at all. Thank you so much, Roy. That's incredibly generous. £25. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the very kind donation and for coming along today. And I'm glad you've been enjoying the videos. It's really far too generous. Sidestick David, thanks for the follow. Paul and Marco as well for the subscription. So there we go. Looking at the weather, departing from Denver, it's a northerly wind. So one of the northerly runways, 10 century miles, altimeter 3003. Great. I'm not going to bother with the TAF. Looks like there's no Digi-ATIS available. There's no controllers online at all because we're too early for America, I think. And there's our route, which you can see on the map. There it is. So that's what we're going to do. I've been aiming for Los Angeles for a while, so we're finally going to get there. You can change the kilograms in the EFP sim settings. Exactly. So that is the flight. Ground services. Let's see what we've got. We've got the ground power unit. Chocks are in. One left, and the jetty is attached, as we saw, automatically attached, which is great. So this is all going to be automated. I'm going to leave this to run as per the simulation. So just door one opened automatically. It's very clever, this. Mass and balance would be loaded in from SimBrief, I'm hoping. Concerningly, it isn't working because you see it's in pounds and SimBrief is in kilograms. So what I'm going to do is go to Sim Settings, Units, and we'll change the weights to kilograms. And I'm going to hope that it can now magically... is it going to work? Is it going to find it? I haven't done this before. I haven't flown in America with this. I've been flying around in Europe. So let's try re-importing from SimBrief. This is good to know. And hopefully now, because SimBrief I did in kilograms, as I always do. Now we go to mass and balance, and hopefully it can read it better. There we go, planned, 7.7 tons on the fuel is what's planned. Great. Now we do actually save fuel, so this should be fine because the Fenix engine model at the moment is slightly generous on the fuel. Call sign for US Air was AWE, Cactus, came from American West, says Rich. Indeed, but originally it was call signed US Air, and just used that as the name USA, which is pretty cool. And then it turned into Cactus, indeed, when it merged with America West. That's the only thing I did know. But there we go. This is the first aircraft tool giving me goosebumps when setting thrust to giant axe. Agreed. Yeah, it is really remarkable. But yeah, thanks, Rich. No, absolutely. I did have a look, and I was almost going to go for Cactus, and then I was told I should go for this one. The Salient says, kilograms on US airline, disgusting. Yeah, absolutely. I can see the complaints. Right. Thank you again to Roy for that very generous donation. So there we go. So actually, Roy, I can talk about it a bit now. So you can see our zero fuel weight and our trim, and then our gross weight and our Mac gross weight. So that's our CG, basically. What this is the central gravity of the airplane, which moves forward and backwards depending on where the passengers are sat. So if they're all sat in the front, the airplane is nose heavy. It's less efficient like that. But the result is when we try and take off, the airplane will be slightly out of trim. So the trim wheel we use on takeoff, we set it to try and counteract the trim issue in the airplane just for the rotation. It doesn't actually matter in flight so much because the Airbus auto trims, but the point is we want the rotation to feel similar on the takeoffs, and we don't have rotate law in this version of the Airbus, this older version. So it's important that we set the trim to try and make the rotation feel normal. If it's out of trim, and I have taken off in an out of trim Airbus, you notice you may have to pull harder or pull less, and the risk, of course, then would be if you had to pull, let's say the trim was out of trim, it was actually more tail heavy than we thought, so we didn't have the trim set forward to counteract that, nose down, then when we go to take off, we could find the nose coming up too quickly. Something like that. So that's why we set that trim wheel on takeoff. Yasin, thank you so much for your €5 super chat. Really appreciate it. Yasin says, thanks for all you've taught us about Airbus. All you've taught us about Airbus. Thank you so much, Yasin. Really, really appreciate it. Very kind. Thank you for your €5 donation. Thank you for coming along today. I'm glad you've enjoyed them, and a little heart there. Thank you. Really, very kind, Yasin. I hope you're doing very well. Thank you for joining us. G90 says, thanks for another Fenix stream. And is the backup nav tuning on the pedestal modeled? Maybe something to check. Oh, yeah, that is something to check. Goodness me. Use that so rarely. Never Player, thanks for the follow. Good day to Shine. Hope you're doing very well. Mike says, Los Angeles information. There it is. They got no wind. 7 statute miles visibility. Overcast 1700. Oh, it's a pretty gloomy day there. Afternoon, Ryan. Hope you're doing well. Good. So I'm not going to load this on just yet. Panel states we've already done, and we are obviously cold and dark. Sim settings, I think that's it. So you can see it automatically put inches because this is an American livery. Pretty cool that the liveries tie into the fit of the airplane. And then you've got things like this. So it doesn't have FLS. It doesn't have essential auto switching. It does have ice detection. Does have lateral deviation. I'm going to add nav in the go around. I don't want the brake fans, and I'm going to add AC essential auto switching because I think if US Airways were still flying this around, they would have probably modified it by now, but this is an old airline, so it's quite sensible that they wouldn't have had that. Good. Right, so mass and balance is going to be the next thing. Right, now what I want to do is get the airplane powered up, and then we can start loading passengers. So, first of all, we're going to sit down, and we're going to make sure that the landing gear lever is down, the wiper selectors are both off, the batteries are checked, and then we can put them into auto. We've got the weather radar off, predictive wind shear off, and external power is available. Let's bring it to life. Give it a few seconds before we can do the APU fire test. As ever, let me know about the audio and how it's going, because it does seem to change. AC auto AC essential mic is, I'll give you a brief description now, but it is a thing that is quite a big topic. It's to do with the airplane is powered primarily by AC power. We have DC direct current and AC alternating current on the Airbus. In the original Airbuses, we have several. I'll show you when the electrical screen comes up. We have several bus bars, This might be a question to save for when we're on the way, actually. Let's see if I can get through it quick enough. So as you can see here, we have AC Essential bus bar, and it's being fed by the AC bus bar 1. So we have external AC power. So we only have one source of electrical power right now. The battery. Well, we also have the batteries. There's a triple click, so the flight warning computers are now online. So we can do the APU fire test, but we'll do that shortly. So at the moment, external AC power is feeding all of our AC bus bars. They are converted by the transformer rectifiers into DC, direct current, which is then sent to the batteries and the DC essential bus bar. These essential bus bars, as you can see, are fed in all situations. Even if you lose all your generators in flight, the ram air turbine will deploy and it will feed these essential bus bars and the battery bus. This is called the emergency electrical config when you'll be flying on just the DC BAT, DC Essential, AC Essential. That's why they're called S Essential. These are the most important ones that include things like the captain's PFD and the VHF 1, so you can transmit and this sort of thing. Now, as you can see, AC Essential is fed by AC Bus Bar 1. It is not battery powered unless we have a problem with the aeroplane and the ram air turbine has to come out, and then it's ram air turbine powered, not battery powered, because obviously it can't be battery powered. Well, it could be, but it's not DC battery. I digress. So basically this is currently fed from AC1. If we were to lose engine 1 on takeoff and ended up just flying on engine 2, then disregard that. If we were to lose AC bus bar 1 on takeoff or during the flight at any moment, then we need AC essential bus bar to be fed from AC2. Now, we lose a lot of things if we lose the AC Essential bus bar, but you will actually lose, surprisingly, the screens over here. It's quite a bad failure. You'll lose some of these screens for the captain and so on, because they are fed because they are so important by the AC Essential. So the airplane needs to swap over and feed it from AC2. On the overhead panel, let me show you, we have the electrical panel, and here we have AC Essential feed. So it's primarily fed by AC Bus 1, as shown here, and there is a backup feed from AC Bus 2. In old airplanes, this was not automatic. What would happen is the AC bus 1 would fail, you'd lose all your screens, and you'd sit there, you'd have to work it out, and then you'd even lose this top screen here, I believe, and then you have to press the AC essential feed to swap it over. But that's very distracting. You don't want to just start pressing buttons randomly, so you'd have to give it a minute before you could do that. Anyway, the result of all that was they modified it so that now, if you have the auto changeover and you lose AC bus 1, it automatically feeds it from bus 2. That was a hugely complicated answer to a very simple question. I do apologise, but that's what that option is. It's a modern thing, and I would say pretty much all Airbuses these days, or most, have been modified to make sure that happens, because it's so silly not to. It's such an important thing. Right, thank you for the follows and subscriptions. Really appreciate it. Those of you joining us today. Does the 320 CEO not have rotation law? That would explain why my takeoff speed word. Indeed, no rotation law in the CEO. That is a NEO exclusive. Good stuff. Right, where were we? APU fire test time. So computers are online. APU fire test. All good. And I'm going to get the APU up and running so we have some air for them. Powers up. Get the nav line out of the way and start. Good. Right, we're going to run some other things. So we need to check that the speed brake lever is retracted, flaps are at 0 and they match on the ECAM. We're going to check that the landing gear gravity extension is down. We're going to check the parking brake is on and we have accumulator pressure and brake pressure. Of course we do. And we would run... oh, let me get that right. Yeah, no, that's it. So what else we need to check is the oil. We have enough oil. And the hydraulics. We have enough hydraulic. Good quantities in all of those. And finally, I'm going to look at the oxygen pressure, make sure 1800 psi. That is more than enough. Mike says, won't APU running mess with the fuel calculations, or does it use so little that it really doesn't matter? APU will use up fuel, but no, you can have it running during fueling in the Airbus. It's no limitation on that. My favourite part system, says Michael, I really like the handling at the moment. That's one of my favourite things about it. It's a really nice machine to fly around. But otherwise, I have so many good systems in it. It's very hard to say right now. Really, really like it. Salient says, do airliners typically run the APU for air rather than get it from the ground? Depends where you are in the world. In Europe, it's only in the hotter countries do you have air regularly. But I hear in America, they'd probably plug in air outside, so you wouldn't need it. So there you go. Right, going into our flows then. Cruise supply can come on. Ground control switch on. Align the RSs. Let's do it to the proper view. Down here, we're going to have the nav lights on 1, strobe lights to auto, all the other lights off. Emergency exit lights armed. No smoking to auto. Seatbelts off while we board and refuel. Cabin pressure in auto. Anti-ice off. Air conditioning is off for now. I'm just letting the APU warm up before we turn on the APU bleed. We would do our battery check normally. We can turn on the fuel pumps, get rid of all the white lights, and run the engine fire tests. Ah, yes, CVR test, which does also work. I haven't been doing that because I think we did have a model that didn't work, but there we go. There it is, and it goes off. That's normal. Excellent. Well remembered. Down on the bottom, engine manual start off, wipers off, cargo smoke, and then we're going to give a bit of temperature to the poor cat in the hold. Right, coming along then, we would do our oxygen mask tests. Just to now have a sound, which is great. Close that. That does squeak, actually. I really like that detail. The real ones are pretty squeaky. We can set up a little bit up here, but I'm not going to get too excited. We're going to settle that up when we know our departure. But we do need to cage our standby horizon. Blue says, hello, thanks for the stream. Phoenix looks awesome. It is indeed awesome. Thanks for coming along. Glad you're enjoying it. Danjay Suresh says, I downloaded both the PMDG 737 and Fenix A320. 737 took hours to find all the buttons and switches from cold dark. Also didn't run pack, so passengers ran out of O2 during the climb. Yes, it's easily done. Danjay Suresh, that's how I felt first time I tried to use a 737. So yeah, absolutely. What's the difference between 1 and 2 for nav lights? Great question. So 1 and 2, that's system 1. Let's find a wing view. So system 1 is one set of lights, so they have backups. So 1, I think, I'm sure this is probably correct. That's that bulb there. And if we swap over to system 2, no, not off, 2, it's the rear light. So there's 2 sets of lights. We have a backup one. And the reason is you have to have nav lights to fly around at night. You're not allowed to fly without this light here. So if the airplane lands somewhere, find its nav lights are broken, then it's useful that you can swap over to the other system without having to immediately change the bulbs. So it's just a bit of redundancy. Melissa, thanks for the subscription, and Sir Rad, thanks for the follow, and 876 Sim Pilot for the subscription as well, and Fake Blue for the follow. So yeah, so that's what that does. So you can leave it at either. Some airlines seem to have a system. I've never flown for an airline that cares. You just put it on whichever, and eventually it will run out. Logo lights are automatic, so it's nav and logo. So they'll be on the ground. Oh, you're really testing my knowledge here. You guys always do. So they're on the ground. Logo lights are here in the tail, shining at the tail. They will turn off. Is it at flaps up? I think they might turn off, and then they'll come on again when the flaps come out. Obviously, you don't need to light up the tail during the cruise. But yeah, that's my understanding. Something like that. Don't take that as gospel. There could be some other criteria, but yeah, logo light automatically handled, as so many things on the Airbus. The nav lights do not need to be on for daylight, Jonathan Gonthauser. In most parts of the world, you don't need them, but I can guarantee you 99% of pilots will turn them on anyway, because it just shows the airplane's powered up and is you know, using airplane. A lot of airlines don't even turn them off when the airplanes are left empty either. You know, they're just on. Alex, thanks for the subscription, and Hector, thanks for the subscription as well, and Jomo for the follow. Right, hopefully that has cleared up that about the lights. Good, we've done this, we've done this, we've done this, done this, and this, and this. Yeah, we did all of that. What am I talking about? Then we came down here, we just caged the standby horizon. Let's set the QNH, which is... Oh, it gets confused, doesn't it? Ah, it's going to standard, so I can't use my... I usually cheat in Microsoft Flight Simulator and just press B. So I will set the QNH shortly when I have a bit of an idea of what I'm going to... what QNH I'm going to set. Airdog, thanks so much for your 1.5. I think that's Hungarian Florence. Thank you so much, Airdog. Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming along. Thank you for your very kind donation. Really, really very kind of you, and I hope you're doing very well. Thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Shwig44, I saw you earlier. Thanks for coming along again. It has been a while. Shwig says, what are those sliders on the outer armrest on the captain and NFO's chairs? We'll talk about those shortly. It's funny that there's these little details that we haven't actually seen before. Good. Right. So that's done. And then we come down here. Radios. I've got VHF1 listening and transmitting, interphone listening, and I'm going to listen as well to VHF2, which I'll put onto guard once we get underway. We've got the lights on. The weather radar is off. We can put ground clutter suppression to auto, actually, but it doesn't work anyway. The whole radar, we know that. Transponder to system 1, out reporting on, set to above, and standby, Great stuff. Right. And then, as I've said before, you'd actually go through the cockpit and check a few more things. So you'd slide this out of the way. You've got to check the circuit breakers, make sure none are popped. Remember, they could be popped. I'll show you one. Oh, there we go. We can. I was wondering if you could do that. Excellent. One of these circuit breakers. There you go. If you pull that one, that's pulled. See if it works. Not sure if I'm getting that the right way round. Fire script A, fire script B. That's to do with the APU though. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? No, I'm not sure what I'm doing. I've had one of these popped before, and it made for an interesting setup of the flight deck. But I don't want to. What if we did both of them? No, fire loop B. Engine 1 fire loop B. Now I'm just playing. This is the problem. You just get used to start playing with this aircraft in this system. Let's not do that. Let's put that back in. I would have to do a video where we go through these properly and have more fun with them. But yeah, it led to quite an interesting start to the day, that's for sure. Right. Oh, what's that called? Yeah, that's probably, yeah, fire loop B fault. So that is because it was a monitored CB. But that should, I think I got it back in. By the way, in real life, these circuit breakers are a nightmare to see. You have to really stand alongside them before you can see if one's popped. Because if you look at them like this, you know, it doesn't mean anything. You've got to go right to the side, and even then it's not easy. You can see there it's not perfectly clear that they're popped, because they just don't pop out that much. Anyway, that's all working again. Good news. We don't have brake fans, so that's not going to matter. MSJN, good to see you. MSJN says, I think the video quality is better here. There you go. So some people prefer the Twitch video quality. Cam A321, good to see you. Cam says, strobe auto will turn on once the wheels leave the ground and turn off on touchdown. Indeed. So strobe auto, we leave it there in case we forget, but normally we turn it on when we line up on the runway. Right, let's head into the MCDU. So, don't need to do any maintenance, things like that. What we do need to do is go to the ATSU, AOC, flight init. We're going to initialize. Matthew says, had a main bat CB popped constantly this last week. Made it an interesting MEL. Yes, that sounds quite impressive. Good to see you, Matthew Presley, our resident American pilot who can make fun of me for all the things I get wrong today. But yeah, I hope you're doing very well. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, that a main battery CB would be a really nasty one to have. I can't believe that can even be MEL'd. Saul, thanks so much. Saul Cobb says, congrats on 60k, Captain. Any plans for the 60k stream? I know, since our last stream, we've passed 60,000 subscribers. What a moment. It's sort of passed by because it's been so crazy. But yeah, 60,000. So thank you all so much. I'm going to do a special 60k celebration. We need to figure out what we want to do for that, but it will come. So thank you all for being a part of that. Really, really appreciate it. I can't believe it. 60k. Good. So we can get the weather on here, or we can get it from our EFB. So I'm not really too fussed which way we do it. Let's just put in a KDEN so we have a message in here in case I forget. Just take the METAR, which is the current weather, and we'll send for that. Carlos, thank you so much for your $18.86 tip. Really appreciate it. I can't see a message, Carlos, but thank you so much. It's really very kind, very generous of you. Thank you. Really, really appreciate it. And thanks for coming along today. I hope you're doing very well, and that's very, very generous of you, very kind of you. Thank you, Carlos. I don't know what to say. Yeah, it's absolutely no need to tip. It's just really appreciated, very kind of you. Thor says, thanks so much for streaming just as I'm making dinner, cooking up food while you're cooking some great flying. Excellent. I like it. Yeah. So 60,000. What a moment. It's. I would have done something. Made a community post, and I think I will do one soon. But it's been a lot of. I'm so busy trying to work on the Fenix stuff for the tutorials and the streams. I'm still exhausted from after that last stream, frankly. That was really something. Dajay Suresh says, any large military aircraft for the 60k stream? Yeah, that could be a good idea. I don't think we have any to use here for now. Sidestick wants a 24-hour stream. Sidestick David. Yes. I don't know if I'll do that because our long hauls were... the last long haul was a bit of a stretch, and even the last 5-hour stream was a bit of a stretch. I was very, very exhausted afterwards. Okay, right, so down flight init, we're not going to do ATC request. That's to do with if we were using ACARS or Hoppy for CPLC and so on. None of this to do yet, so what we can do is go back to the MCDU menu. We're going into the FMGC now, check that the database is valid, which it is, which is good news. Clear out these messages, all good. And then we're going to go to, so that's D, and then we're going to go to diff strip, so I. So we're going to go init request. Now this has changed, and I've had to update the description on my cold and dark video. For those of you new to the Airbus, or in fact, not new to the Airbus, new to the Fenix, this has changed. Previously it was loading straight in. Now some airlines have that, some airlines have this, where this downloads it through ACARS, it's connected to SimBrief. It might not work unless you've initialized the flight like I showed you earlier. And anyway, here we have it. So it's got Denver to Los Angeles with KONT. No idea where that is as the alternate. We've got to enter a few more bits. But crucially, the flight plan is not in our flight. It is now. Right, I need to work out what's going on. I've seen this happen both ways now. So there is another version of this. And I don't know what the difference is then. I don't know what's causing it to happen either way around. Some other people might know. If it doesn't appear in your flight plan A like this, automatically in green, it might say secondary, and then you go to secondary, and then there's a blue message here saying AOC flight plan request. You press that, it's one of these keys here, and it will download it into the secondary, and then there'll be an amber option to activate secondary, and you just click activate. So instead of downloading it into primary, it downloads into the secondary. I've seen that happen. I don't know what I've missed here. That caught me off guard, so there we go. Oh, it's Ontario in Canada. There we go. So SimBrief does come up with some crazy alternates. So thanks for that. Oh, it's not Ontario, Canada. Or it is. Oh dear. MSGN says maybe it's one of the airline options. Maybe it is. Yeah, so far it's always loaded into flight mapping. Right. Well, while we're here, we've got time. It's a bit embarrassing, really. I don't know where that option is. Sorry, everyone. That's interesting. But yeah, either way, it's no problem. But it's interesting they've modelled both, and I need to work out how to choose between them. But there we go. CA California. Oh, Ontario, California. CY is Canada. Goodness me. Goodness me. Right, thanks Video Man Chris. Thanks Tom Coyne. I am so out of my... I thought that would be ridiculous, because in my mind, Canada's just as far north as Scotland, but of course from Los Angeles it's probably 3 or 4 hours away. Yeah, K is for USA airports. Thanks, AC4. I should have known that. I feel like I did know that, but I haven't managed to... I'm getting all confused. So, anyway, init A time. So we're going to be USA. Our departure time is about to pass again. 310. And let's not forget, we go over to here. Let's go to the app. Thanks so much, 11 Clark M, for the £4.49 super chat. Really appreciate it. 11 Clark M says, flight to Paro, Bhutan for 60k perhaps. We need a bit of prep, but I imagine less than Concorde, and I'm sure you ace it. Yes, that's something we need to try. We've heard it so many times. I can't believe I haven't done it yet. Paro, Bhutan, that's definitely an option. Yeah, that is an option. That's one idea then, 11 Clark M. Thank you very much. Yeah, interesting. And thank you so much for your £4.49 donation. Really appreciate it. Very kind of you. And I hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us again and supporting the channel as ever. Really appreciate it. Coston X9 cruising at flight level 340. Great stuff. Got the alternate. Ground temperature 4. Well, it's not. It's a bit warmer than that. I think they're... not sure. That might have gone off the side of the screen there. Looks like it's 11 degrees outside. In it goes. Great. And wind. I'm going to load in the wind because it has got the flight plan in there already. Yeah, thank you, Titan, for the follow, and thank you again, 11 Clark M, for the very kind super chat. So there we go. So that is init A done. Flight plan time. Now, let me just check. No one's come online suddenly, which would be very embarrassing. No. So let's go to our charts. Figure out which way we want to get out of here. Denver. Ground. Airports. So we're here, which is on Concourse B facing south by the looks of things, which I think was right. Yes. So should we take off 3-4 right? That seems like a logical place to take off. Unless they would send us out here, 3-4 left. Does anyone know, typically? First suggestion I'll go with, as long as it's one of these two. I'm not taxiing down here. Looks to me, if this was in Europe, there's only a few airports formatted like this. I mean, this has so many runways for not a very big airport. I'm quite surprised. But yeah, what they would do... This has the longest... Oh, that's right. This has one of the longest runways in the in America. 4,000... How big is that? 4,800 meters. That's unbelievably massive. We'd be at 10,000 feet by the end of the runway. 2, 5, and 8 are the usual departure runways. Really? So 2, 5? Lauren V knows what's going on though. Depends on the wind. 2-5 if wind favours it. So Matthew. All right, 2-5 it is. We're going from runway 25. Sold. Thanks very much. Two very good sources of information there. So runway 25. Thanks Matthew. Thanks Lauren. Airbus as well says 2-5 it is. Flights to Los Angeles. So some airports will prioritise wind direction. Some airports will prioritise flow. So this must be quite a busy airport. So they want us to take off and then we'll head out to the west, as opposed to if we went this way, getting in the way of arrivals from the west and so on. I'm guessing. We're going out via Baylor. So this is probably one of those American-style SIDs that doesn't actually mean a whole lot and is sort of like a takeoff, climb straight ahead. I don't think we need any more of these then. We've got our taxi route, so let's go to departure. Yeah, here we go. This is going to be a good one. Oh no, it's an actual departure, just for every single runway imaginable. Thank you, James Cooper, for your £3.20 super chat. Really appreciate it. I see what you did there, James. Thank you very much. James said, just finished my first Phoenix. That's East Midlands to Edinburgh. Loved it. Excellent, James. Glad you enjoyed it. Thank you for coming along, and thank you so much for your £3.20 donation. Really, as ever, too generous of you. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thanks for joining us today. Glad you enjoyed your flight with the Phoenix. What a change. The way the world's changed. I mean, when I started the last stream, it wasn't even released, and now it feels like it's been out for a while. Right, looks like a broken whisk. Yeah, it does a bit. So we're taking off from 2.5, get above 5,900 feet. Remember, the airfield elevation here is astonishing. It is really high up. Where's that written on these charts? Airport elevation 5,400 feet. So we need to get above 5,900 feet. So that's only 500 feet. Then we make our left turn. So 263 to 500 feet above the ground. Left turn to 10,000 or below. Wakir 11,000 or above. Tulo 14,000 or above. Hilton. Not Hilton, but Hilton, 16,000, and on they go. So I'm going to put in, let's put our first restriction of 10,000 feet in. So that's going to go in the window. Thank you, Verpex, for the follow. So that's the plan to stop altitude. Let's check that the 6 works here. Runway 25. I should have put in the transition probably. Ends at Mitsu, Balia, and then Teru. Let me just check the routing. Teru. Right, let me just see, what does our flight plan say? We need to finish at Teru, so that works. So it's not connected because they didn't match on the points, so I can delete that. That's pretty realistic. Teru. Then on our route goes. If we go to plan, we can just check it's something sensible. And then our arrival at the other end. Now this is, I'm almost certainly getting this wrong. Runway for arriving into Los Angeles, anybody? Someone commented on I made a community post saying we'll be getting out of my comfort zone and flying to Los Angeles International. And they said, you saying Los Angeles International instead of KLX was all I needed to know you're out of your comfort zone, which I quite liked. Good stuff. Matthew says, if ATC comes online, remember climb via has a hard takeoff altitude printed on the chart that you climb to. Aha, okay. This is a relatively new thing in Europe, these climb vias. We don't do it very much. So, flight 230 is the top altitude. Okay, so if unrestricted climbs to 230. If we get that. But initially, 10,000 feet. Cool. So, it's a high takeoff, 5,000 or 6,000 feet, but we'll have plenty of performance on a nice long runway. No issues doing that. Two 5 left in KLX. There's Cam. Thanks, Cam. 24 right, 25 left. 24 right, 25 left. Okay. 25 left was the first option, so we'll start with that. RLS 25 left. There's our new departure time just passing. And I think we're going via this arrival. If I just go to plan, does that make sense? We're going to adjust this in flight, of course, and brief it as we go. Then we would have some sort of arrival. I'm just going to go with that for now, so we have something in the box that looks sensible. So that's flight plan. Secondary, I'm just going to copy the active into there. So if you loaded it into the secondary, because it did that when you were downloading the flight plan, if this is where it ended up, you'd get this, and then you could click activate secondary if it's not in your primary. Radnav, auto-tuned, init B time. Oh yeah, oh dear, we should have loaded the airplane. That is my fault. Something I must remember to do. So as soon as we powered up and had those emergency lights on, we could have started boarding. I'm going to load the aircraft according to what we have planned, but we're going to do, let's do fast. No, I did that before. Let's do instant. Boarding complete. No, that didn't work. I've done this before. I shouldn't have done that. That is entirely my fault. Just going to press reset. If you do reset though, you need to tap this again. It's actually quite easy. Navi says, can you explain how you zoom in the flight computer settings in Microsoft Flight Simulator? So it's a keyboard shortcut. By default is Control 1, and it will take us over here. Otherwise, I'm just using my mouse to zoom in on the EFB. Yeah, we're 17 minutes late on that, but we said 16:45. So let's go. Well, I should have. This is what I originally thought it would be, and I didn't do it. I should have done it 1700. There we go. 13 minutes to go. Now we've already adjusted the units, so this should work. There we go. Okay, load aircraft, instant. Dismiss, boarding complete. Now a few minutes later it will send through a load sheet and it will automatically start doing the doors, I believe. So yeah, I'm going to leave it alone. Cargo doors are open at the moment, but you can see one left is just closed. Jetty was moving away there, but I confused it by loading and reloading the airplane. Thanks Mark for the subscription, and the small headed simmer, and Chris. Like I say, I think yeah, we might find a way to get rid of those alerts, and we'll save them for the cruise, but that'll be for future streams. Right, 0 fuel weight 57.4, max 0 fuel 30.2, 57.4 / 30.2. These are 0 fuel weights. These are the weights without any fuel taken into account, because of course these weights will not change throughout the flight. The fuel weights will. 7.6 on the fuel. By the way, if anyone is watching and trying to learn this aircraft and you've not flown the Airbus before, I can highly recommend that you watch. I've got a video on the channel from cold and dark to takeoff with the Fenix. Shows you how to use the EFB, how to set up the ACARS and everything. So, and I'm relieved to hear that ACARS thing I was talking about is still valid. So yes, that is one way to do it. Thanks Diplodocus for the follow. Yes, you can use an external display for the EFB like the A320X. Indeed you can, Dana J. I just do it on here because, of course, for streaming it makes more sense that everybody can see it. So that's loaded in, 64.8 takeoff weight, which is reasonable, and plenty of extra fuel. No doubt our alternate fuel figure is laughable. Let's see, how much fuel for the alternate did they reckon? Alternate fuel, 900. Reckons 4.9 trip fuel. This reckons 2.9 trip fuel. That is quite a bit lower. Interesting. 7.7 on the fuel. We're going with 7.6. Yeah, that's worked. Yeah, so this is the underburning fuel. No doubt about it. Cost the next 9. Yep, 340. Fair enough. Good. ATSU, AOC, received messages. The load sheet's been sent twice because I haven't acknowledged it yet. Load sheet prelim, Edno 2. So there it is. We're going to accept the load sheets. These are the numbers that we've already loaded into the aircraft. So this is sent through before we go, and then we'll get a compliance message later on once we're fully loaded, and off we go. It's a system not all airlines use, but that's what they have modeled in the Fenix, which is quite fun. So that is now loaded in, and we've accepted that load sheet. So flight plan on number 2 side, performance page over here. It's time to do the calculations. Let's go to departure perf. Ryzen says, will you post future updates of A320X? Indeed I will. Right, KDN, we've decided runway 25 with the dry runway. Flaps, optimum, force toga, no, anti-ice, no. We're going to do packs off today because people were asking last time to see it. We'll do takeoff weight 64.7, max out 28.2. You just press sync. We'll sync the live weather. Altimeter 3003, which I think we had. Yeah, 3003, 3003. Which seems to tie in. So 3003 is about 5,300 feet, which ties in with about 1013. That's not right. 2992. I suppose it's about 1016. Probably a bit closer to that. There we go. Live weather's in. Weights are in. Calculate. The Salient says the departure arrival performance calculations are my favourite part of the EFB, so useful. These are better than the real software. They are amazingly well formatted and amazingly clear. So do we want to do our full length takeoff? So you can just use the shortcut to go to Navigraph. Let's go back to our clipboards. And I want to be lazy. Yeah, golf. We can use the... We don't need to use intersection performance. One day I need to do that to show that it works. That's wrong. That's the one we want. So, no shift, flaps 1, flex 54. That's quite a high flex. And I'll tell you why. The reason that flex temperature is high, and I say it's high, not there, 54. It's not high, it's a lower temperature. The lower this temperature, the more thrust you're using on takeoff when you're at higher elevation. So it's at sea level, it goes flex to 69 as a maximum, and then in somewhere like Amsterdam, you might actually get flex 70 if you're lucky, if the pressure's high enough. But there you go. Good. So speeds 25, 25, 28. Love the slight delay in the numbers. It's so true. Sometimes you press it and then you'll wait a few seconds and then it appears. That's always a bad sign. 3003 is 1017, says Peter. Thank you so much, Peter. Roy says, small things but packs are set off on the perf calculator. Indeed, Roy. So we're going to do packs off for today's takeoff, which is something someone asked about it last time and I haven't done it for a while. Good. So let's put terrain on as the weather radar isn't working. And let's check that this all looks sensible. Zoom in. Thank you so much, Kelpie, for the $10 tip. Thanks for supporting us again, Kelpie. Really too kind of you. Kelpie says, do you plan on doing any long-haul flights in the future, or does your job get in the way? You mean any long-haul flights on stream? So first of all, thank you again, Kelpie, for supporting us, and that $10 donation once again, really very generous and very kind of you. Do I plan on doing long haul? Probably not. And I mean in the sim, we have done 2 long haul flights, and then you could count the Concorde as long haul. It was a long way, it just wasn't a long time. But the first one was great fun. The second one was good fun as well, but it was pretty tough to do, and they're quite tiring, because when I do a long haul stream, I don't actually get up. I take some breaks for dinner and stuff, but I don't go to bed or anything. We know there's just short breaks, and one of them was like 11 or 12 hours. So it's pretty bad. So I don't know if we'll do them again, because exactly work. I've really struggled. I worked every day. So the Phoenix was the first videos could come out, and I was working every day up until I streamed, and then I had my days off where I did a stream and made some more videos, and now I'm on a day off again, and I don't think it'll be practical to spend a whole day off, because I'm working pretty hard now, which is great news. So probably less likely to do long haul streams at the moment because of the job, indeed, which is great news. But yeah, but we'll definitely do something special. And you know, our last Phoenix stream was 5.5 hours long, so it's not like we're not doing short ones by any means. But thank you so much, Kelpie, really appreciate it. Thanks for the kind donation. Okay, so that's our departure, that's our takeoff runway. What else do we need to do? So we can get rid of that jetty. It has returned, but that's because I've been messing around. And we can get rid of the ground power unit. So APU is available. Always check that before you turn off the ground power unit, or it goes very dark. APU bleed coming on. They can disconnect the GPU. They can connect the tug. They can remove the chocks, which they would do automatically, and they're going to close up the door automatically, and they'll close up those cargo doors. I hope. You can hear that clackety clackety clack. That is the fan blades. So the engines windmill at different speeds according to the weather where you are. And as I said before, the real engines do windmill like this, and it can be quite hard to actually get near them. You certainly can't put your hands in and slow these ones down if they're spinning around like this. That would be a definite just leave it alone and take an overall look at it. So they look in good shape. I always think compared to the IAE engines, the CFM ones look a little bit old-fashioned with that ring running through them. Very cool. Look at the detail. Outrageous. You can hear the packs screaming away. We've got no fans, so we have the non-fans wheels down there. It's amazing. Just amazing. Look at the way the light reflects there. See the rivets again. I don't know how they've done that. Just and all the proportions obviously are just spot on. It's ridiculous. Amazing. Love it. Love this sort of oily film you get on the windows. You see on airliners. That sort of looks like oil, but it's not, of course. It's to do with, I think it's to do with the heating elements in the window. The windshield, I should say. Those are the windshields, by the way. These are the windows. Sliding window, fixed window, windshield, windshield. Engineers will call them by different names, so you have to be careful what you're referring to if you ever call an engineer about those windows or windshields, because, of course, the windshield is the one right in front of you, shielding you from the wind. These are just nice windows to look out of. Thanks, Helsing, for the follow, and Nissan and JK. Thank you again, Kelpie, for the kind donation. Shriek says, not going to lie, I did try to pop the radar open. I'm not surprised. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I don't think that's not a feature at the moment, certainly. Good. Right, so we are almost there. This is the problem with the Phoenix. I just end up flying the drone around it, admiring it, instead of actually getting on with what I should be doing. So we can also close up the cargo. Target's connected. Let's just run a little final sort of sweep up on the brief. I know there's just us sitting here, but there we go. So we're taking off, getting to 5,900 feet. The restriction is at 5,934. We've got to be above that. The airplane is happy it will be, hence the magenta asterisk. Then it's going to maintain 250 to 10,000 feet, which won't take long. Get to Brecon at 10,000, which is also our stop altitude. That is only valid until Brecon, which you can see, minus 10,000. And then we'll carry on from there. Now, we could put in the window the top altitude, the 23,000 feet, or flight level 230, because if we use climb mode, which is the mode that's armed, the airplane will automatically manage the climb to include that 10,000 foot restriction. So we don't actually need to set just 10,000 feet in the window, but I do typically like to do that. So that's what I'm going to do, and no one's going to stop me. So there you go. My drone controls are simply the default Xbox controller. That's what I'm using AirDog for that. Yep. Thanks, Matt, for the subscription, and thanks, Sonos. Cam says, is there a hard and fast rule about how much tailwind can be accepted for takeoff and landing? Yes. There is the performance limit, which will be on short runways and so on. You'll have to calculate it, and the landing calculator may say you can't fit with that tailwind. But if you're on a massive runway and nothing else is an issue, there could be a go-around issue. And the most common one that we meet will be your airline's limit. So there's two limits on the Airbus, 10 knots and 15 knots. So some airlines will certify their aircraft to land at 15 knots tail, and some won't. Right, according to my new made-up departure time, which I just made up to be suitable for all the talking, we are 2 minutes from departure. So let's get our checklist done. Documents, normal checklist, cockpit prep is completed. Barra ref, we've got 3003 set, and sort of set. Set in real units. A-cards is initialized. Parking brake is set and set. Looking over here to make sure there is pressure, and you can see the message up there. Fuel on board, we've got 7.6 tons, what we wanted. Init B is loaded. Flex temp, we are going with a flex of 54. As we said, quite a low temperature, high thrust takeoff. Takeoff speeds, we've got 125, 125, 128, 215. Right. Well, there's still no air traffic control. We've got our weather, done our performance. I think it's time we get going. So, we run through our flow. Thrust levers to idle. Windows and doors closed, and flight deck door is going to be locked, so that's all good. Let's put the beacon on. Let us put the transponder to auto, and let's run the checklist. So, passenger signs on and auto. Did I put that on yet? No, I didn't. That's why there's a checklist. Beacon is on. Transponder is auto. All doors are closed. We can see that down here. All doors closed. That is it before, so our checklist complete. It's time to push. Now, where are we going to go? Thanks for the follow, Jet Fuel. Thanks for the subscription. I think we'll just go straight back again into the middle of this massive sort of concrete car park. Let's just announce it. We're on 122.8. Not quite. Denver traffic, US Air 310, pushing back from the main terminal into apron. Forgotten where are we? Apron, Charlie Sierra. Okay. I don't think there's anyone here with us today. GPWS test. We don't actually do that in the real aircraft, but there it is. It does work. As you would expect, it does run the test on here. Some aircraft you do have to test it every day, but the Airbus has a lot of systems that auto test or run in the background, so they could tell us if they're not working. Jesse says why does it say out of operational limits? Ooh, have I missed that? Where was that written? The weights page. By the way, I love the little scratches and so on. These weights look fine to me, and the trim seems reasonable. That looks good to me. I'm not sure. Good, so that's done. Let's go to our ground services. Release the brakes. Start the push. Start the clock. Run. Great stuff. We are underway. Exciting, exciting, exciting. It was Cactus, but before that it was US Air. Look at that rudder that's just blowing with the wind. How cool is that? Excellent. The real aircraft does that. You can actually sit there during the turnaround and you will feel the pedals gently rock sometimes, especially if you have a tailwind whilst you're sitting there. It will sort of roll left and right depending on it, flop side to side. Ainsley says, finally managed to get my throttle working after watching your video. Thanks to that. You're very welcome. I made that video about, I think it was about midnight or 1 a.m. on the release night after the stream, which was a mega stream. I was so tired that night. I keep saying, I'm not trying to complain, I promise. But I'm glad it was useful because I thought it would be a thing. Because, of course, I've had it for a few months, so it wasn't a surprise to me. But I suddenly remembered, oh, yeah, of course, because when I first set it up, I needed a bit of help doing that. Let's stop the pushback. Planes and Trains with Elliot, thank you very much for your £1.79 super chat. Really appreciate it. Have a great flight. Thank you, Planes, Trains and Elliot. We will. Thanks for coming along. Thanks so much for kindly contributing towards the channel. Really appreciate it. Parking brake goes on. We can get rid of the tug. Let's start up the engines. So let's do engine number. Let's see if we can do a... let's do single engine today. Further away, isn't it? So starting engine number 1. Start the timer. There's the pressure. N2 spinning. You can hear that the packs have turned off. It's pretty cool. It does that on its own. Ainsley says I was going insane trying to get it to work. Yes, it is. It's like all aircraft in Microsoft Flight Simulator. It takes a bit of work at the first try to get the throttles and so on working, especially when you have detents and so on. So glad the video was useful. I thought it was worth putting out as quickly as I could. So there we go, that's engine 1 up and running. That's all we need. The tug is disconnected and gone. So I'm going to put the mode selector back to norm. So there is a slight bug on that at the moment where it constantly resets. I think that's a Microsoft Flight Simulator thing. We're going to turn off the APU bleed. We're going to leave the anti-ice off, we don't need it, and we're going to leave the APU running. We're going to turn on the yellow electric pump to power the second hydraulic system, which will also activate the PTU. Sorry, it would deactivate the PTU, which would have been running otherwise. Going to arm the spoilers, reset the rudder trim, and I'm going to set the flaps to 1 as per this screen. Our CG for takeoff is 28.2. Which is about where we're actually. That's quite a good trim, very neutral trim. I like it. Good. Time to run the afterstart checklist. So that is afterstart, ground equipment removed, anti-ice is off, flaps we've got config 1 plus F green, config 1 blue, APU is on, yellow electric pump is on, trims we've got 28 and 0, cabin doors are armed, ECAM status is checked. Cabin doors, by the way, is these white lights to show us the slides are armed, and the ECAM has a status message. I'm expecting to see 3 things here. There they are, Cat 3 single, Cat 3 dual, Pack 2. Now this is a normal message when you're taxiing out single engine. And the reason we have this is because the aircraft is on 1 engine. It can't do a Cat 3 dual auto land on 1 engine. It can only do Cat 3 single. Pack 2 is an op because it can't run when it doesn't have bleed pressure from engine number 2. If you go to the bleed page, you can see Pack 2 is getting no air. Pack 1 is getting its air. We can actually solve this by opening the crossfeed. So open. And you'll notice N1 has to increase on here in order to supply enough pressure, because if we took out 2 packs worth of air from this engine, if we bled that much air from the engine, it has the potential to stall, so its idle point is raised automatically, so it's now at 22.8. But this way we get pressure to the packs, both packs. Right, it's time to taxi. I'm going to go right. That's all we need to know. Taxi light, clear on the right, clear on the left. Brakes released. I am going to get my camera views set up a bit better than I have them right now, I promise. Now luckily we're doing a right turn, which helps with my engine setting, having just 1 engine. Kevin says, I thought packs meant passengers. Yeah, fair enough. Why not? Bit of thrust to get it moving. High altitude. No surprise. What a model. Unbelievable. Now we can't do the flight control checks until we have got the second engine up and running. Let's just make sure we know our route. So we're going along, and then we can take the first taxiway crossing us down south all the way to Gulf. So we're looking for taxiway Gulf out the window. Get rid of the bleed page. Is there a reason why engine 2 is the one that's off for single engine taxi. In the 300 they leave 1 off, and thus not requiring any PTU. Okay, so here we go. This is the reason we are taxiing on engine 1. If we go to the hydraulic systems, they're fed green system by engine 1, yellow system by engine 2. But the yellow system can also be fed by the yellow electric pump. The green system does not have that option. So if we were to taxi out on engine 2, barely moving, keep going airplane, you can do it. If we were to taxi out on engine 2, then we would have to use the PTU to run the green system. But by going out on the green system, by going out on the engine 1, we have the green system powered, so it's no issue. The other thing is, of course, the green system powers a lot of our things, such as our normal brakes, so it's useful for us to be able to have the green system up and running. Now, if we turn off the yellow pump, it's no issue. The PTU will take over and power it, but then it runs the whole time and it wears it out and it creates that barking dog noise in the cabin. That noise. Which you'll all be very familiar with, I'm sure. Famous part of the Airbus. Piru says, to be honest, this is not quite driving a bus. So, should be Golf at the end, then we can make our left turn south. So let's get the other engine up and running. So, to start the other engine, we do turn off the yellow pump, so now we run on the PTU. So you'll often hear the PTU start just before you start the engine, the next engine. So yellow electric pump off, and we're going to put the APU bleed on. That way we can use that for bleed pressure for starting the other engine. Then we can put the mode selector to ignition start. Thrust lever needs to be at idle for the engine start, otherwise it will just rev up, don't forget. Pressure is there, starting engine 2. VT Jake says, can we expect some good failure procedures with you soon? Yes, we will do more failures. Now we have them in the aircraft. And I'm going to go back to, on the Toliss we used to run with randomized failures, and then we didn't do it so much in Microsoft Flight Simulator, but it's something we'll go back to with this one. Certainly, it'd be good to see them and to try them out in the aircraft, no doubt. By the way, you don't need the cross-speed open, that can be an auto, because of course we're using the APU to start it up anyway. Shouldn't really change that while starting the engine, but there we go. Dopey says, I forgot nozzle steering is connected to green system, that's engine 1, my bad. Okay, so here's the thing with that. On some aircraft, the nozzle steering is on the yellow, some it's on the green. Hence, what's going on here? Oh, I think we can move them around. I didn't know that was a thing. That's outrageous, as ever.
And then for traffic, Delta 1245, taxiing to runway 25 via Golf.
But I'd really like it to open. What have I done wrong here? Very unusual. I haven't seen that before. Let's see if we can wake it up. I've never seen that happen. We don't particularly need it now. We just need it for the charts, but I can get the charts myself. I'm sure there's a way to turn this off and on. So the location. There it is. I had to use a second iPad. There we go. Or hide and show the EFB. Let's try that. Aha! The names are back. No, it's not having it. How strange. But we do have one over here. Which is working. How amazing. I can't believe they're two independent iPads. It's amazing. But yeah, I've never seen that before. Never seen that. So anyway, we are going to... I don't know how to reboot it. I don't know if there is a power button somewhere. It wouldn't surprise me. Let's disconnect it, see if we can run it out of battery. So anyway, Copilot is working. So we have the option. I'm just going to import from SimReef into there. departing. There we go. What was I doing in here? I had a reason. I wanted to see something. I don't remember what it was now. Oh, it was the sim settings. Perfect. Airline information. Yellow hydraulic steering. So there you go. So nozzle steering was sometimes on yellow, sometimes on green. It depends on the fit of the aeroplane or which generation it is. Why that's important is there's some aircraft where you can taxi on engine number 2 only, and there's somewhere you'd need to release the parking brake to run the PTU to do it. I'm getting too complicated. That's not very useful information for anybody, so I apologize. Let's get out to the runway and take off. Yeah, there is a thing where if you land with engine 1 failed, and you're on engine 2, you'll park and you'll set the parking brake, and then you'll think, well, I can't taxi now. We're looking for taxiway Golf, which is the next one over. And you'll think, oh, I'm stuck, I can't taxi. But actually, if you release the parking brake, the PTU runs because the PTU is inhibited with the parking brake set. It will run, and then your nozzle steering will return. So it's a deceptive failure that makes you think you can't taxi when actually you could. Pilot Adam, thanks for the follow. Yeah, but that is majorly detailed stuff. But that shows you what Phoenix have gone to with that level where they've got the that option available to you over there. That's where we're going to be running it from for the rest of the flight, no doubt. Hopefully I can drain the battery on that one. It depends how old the iPad is. So Golf is this first taxiway, and we're going to take it all the way down, following our colleague over there. Oof, the way it bounces around on the ground as well, I like it. It's got some real weight to it. Look at it wobbling around. Because these airplanes are hopeless on hills. They are really bad to taxi on any sort of sloping runway or taxiway. Do you hold the dash or the Airbus closer to your heart, says Flying for Fun. The dash has a place in my heart, but the Airbus I much prefer. I like it as a machine. There's no doubt about it. Good. So now we've run the second engine started. That can go back to norm. APU bleed off. APU master switch coming off. Cross bleed is already in auto. We are good to go. So let's run some flight controls. So there's full up, full down, neutral, full left, full right, neutral, and we would do the rudder, but I'm using my pedals for both axes at the moment, so we can't do that without doing a full turn. Look at this is a really rough taxiway. So you'll have all been used to seeing this as passengers, and then you'll see it run again as the other pilot does their side stick. Thanks for the follow, Don, for the subscription. Right, colleague all the way down. That's good. We can put the auto brake to max. We're going to put the radar on, but it doesn't work. TCAS TARA. I'm going to run the press the takeoff config. We also need to check our not like that. Check our load sheet. So MCDU, ATSU, AOC, receive messages. So this will be the final load sheet, which is compliant to the edition 2. 2 was what we were using because they sent it twice, so I can accept that. 64.7 takeoff, we're 64.9, so those weights are close enough for what we expected. Does look like we're taxiing over grass, yeah. So just check we are still on Golf. There we go. 2 aircraft out there. I've got generic models on to try and reduce the CPU load. I might change that back for future streams. Good. That so nearly worked. Let's leave it off for a while, see if that works. So let's go over here to the checklist. I should do a flight from the right hand seat anyway. I think that'd be quite good fun to do. Something we don't do very often on this channel. This is the most lumpiest taxiway in Microsoft Flight Simulator, I'm pretty sure. FS Dream Team scenery is great for them, but no bumpy runway. Oh no, Lauren, don't tell me that the runway is going to be this bad. Goodness me. Right, before takeoff checklist, it's over here. Flight controls are checked. TCAS is TARA. Departure brief confirmed. Takeoff data we have entered. We've got... Just make sure we don't go off the taxiway. We've got 25, 25, 28, 215, flexing 54, stopping at 10,000 feet. Flaps are config 1+F green. It was 1 blue. ECAM memo. That's outrageous. Let's take off no blue. The Rockies are closed. It has to be bumpy, says Jan. Indeed, indeed. Yeah, I should probably get that. Problem is, I don't know when we'll be back in Denver. Yeah, if you're sitting in the back, you'd be feeling pretty sick right now, I imagine, just from the just from the taxiing. Love, by the way, they have done the best modelling of wing flexing on the ground that I've ever seen in Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I'd say even perhaps X-Plane. The way it just flexes with the bit of weight, but nothing unreasonable, it's great. They've done such a good job with that. Look at it. Amazing. Love it. I need to get a keyboard shortcut to this view. It's my favourite view. It's so good. Have to remove the default one for it to work, says Cameron. Okay. You've moved icons. That's why it's blocked on that. Try to click on the screen. V1 Sim said the same exact thing about the wing flexors phase. There you go. Yeah, no, I can see why. I think it's amazing. Such a good job. Let's see if we can convince.
Traffic Denver Delta 1245 line up takeoff 25.
There we go. Traffic in front. Put them back. See if that helps. Oh no. Denver traffic, US Air 310, taking off runway 25.
Traffic.
Now you wouldn't get that on the ground. It wouldn't say that. It's clear on the approach, clear on the runway. Let's get the lights on. Run the checklist below line. I'll do it here. So takeoff runway is 25. Strobes are on. Packs going off for this takeoff. So you'll hear it go quiet. Pack 1 and 2 go off. On we go. Average FPS, it just depends so much on the scenery. Maybe try holding the icon. Yeah, I've tried everything now. I'm going to see if I can let it drain to nothing. First time I've seen that in months. So, yeah, there you go. But luckily, there are 2, which is just like the real world in case it breaks. So that's great. Right. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Love this livery. So there's normally a 2-minute separation. I'm not sure if they were heavy. I doubt they were, although they certainly look like it in Microsoft Flight Simulator's model matching. Don't want to be too fast lining up. So yeah, normally there's 2-minute separation, and there'll be about 1 minute 40 in the UK now for separation from heavy aircraft. It used to be 2 minutes, but it's reduced slightly. So centre line running down between the screens. That's a good sign you are on the centre line. Okay, so we've done the before takeoff checklist. We're ready to go. Just one last cheeky view. Oh, love it. Oh, no. Let's keep that there. Right. Let's go. So, starting the clock. I'll answer plenty of questions once we're underway. Setting 50% on the N1s. I hope you're all ready. We're heading off. So I'm just going to turn up the audio for you guys. 50%, half side stick down, and 2 clicks forwards. Man flex 54, SRS runway, order thrust blue and arms. That is a high thrust setting. So there's the thrust set, of course. 80 to 100, releasing the side stick to neutral. Quite strong tailwind, actually. Should have done a tailwind take it up there.
Denver traffic southwest 813, lining up on way 8 Denver.
And rotate. As soon as that nose wheel's up, you can release some of the rudder, let it weathercock. Positive climb, gear up. 13 knot tailwind there. Probably pushing the limits, although 15 knots is often airlines will have that for flexibility. There's 500 feet, turning onto the departure. Now it's quite an impressive turn. I assume they don't want us flying over some houses nearby. I love the bing. You can hear the that's the emergency exit lights disarming or going off when the gear comes up. That's why you hear that bing, just like in the real aircraft. So acceleration altitude, thrust levers back.
Denver traffic southwest A13, departing runway 8.
Bit of a decel there on the engines, as you'd expect. Thrust climb auto thrust, lowering the nose to those flight directors, straight into the cloud. Total air temperature 6, so we're going to need the engine anti-ice on. Now the thrust is back at climb, we can turn on the first pack. We put on pack 1. You can only do it once thrust is back at climb. It's not related to your acceleration, but related to the thrust setting. You give it 10 seconds. If you did both at the same time, you could potentially, everyone's going to notice on their ears, and then you can turn on the second pack. Nothing but cows nearby. Yeah, it looked pretty empty out there. AP1. Oh, no. Keep it in manage nav. There you go, see the traffic in front of us. So TCAS working nicely. They're 12 miles ahead, plenty ahead. Let's see the auto flap retraction. So above 210, flaps at the back will come in, and then it will just keep the slats out. And now flaps to 0, of course. Once you do that, disarm the ground spoilers, turn off the nose gear lights. And first part of the checklist, we've got the after takeoff checklist. Landing gear is up, ECAM is checked, which we're checking the flaps are at 0. I have a video coming very soon on exactly what that means, what we're trying to achieve in the after takeoff checklist. Now look at that, it's so low to level off. Speed out star, first restriction, below 10,000 at BRKEM. So there we go, we had to level off, speed out star, 10,000 feet. We don't need to time anymore because the engines are back from climb thrust. There's out mode. We're cruising at 340. There's no nobody else around, so I'm going to put it in the window. See if we can beat our colleagues in front. 340 push, thrust climb, out blue 340. Let's set standards, standard and standard. I'll leave that one for now because it's still below transition. Out blue 340, and that's 10,000 feet. Landing lights going off. Now I might delay them a bit because we're actually not 10,000 feet above the ground, are we? We're only 5,000 feet up. The checklist, Tommaso, is pretty accurate. They do vary airline to airline, but this is a very, very representative checklist, and I'm sure this is very close to a lot of airlines. Yeah, no, this is a good checklist. I highly recommend it. Very, very good. Have to reload in our charts, aren't we? I wonder if it needs a separate authorization. I hope not. Matthew says, don't know how it works in Europe, but we're paid in the US once the doors are closed and the parking brake is released. Yeah, it depends on the airline. A lot of airlines will have a basic salary in Europe, and then you'll get paid extra pay for the time you spend flying. But usually that's based on the planned time, not the actual time. So when we get delayed in Europe, it's unlikely we almost certainly won't get any pay. And if you do, it might be just a couple of pounds. In order, the idea is you could buy yourself a sandwich or a coffee if you're at work for too long. But yeah, you certainly don't see any. There's no advantage to being delayed to pilots. That's often a misconception. Passengers think we're getting overtime when that just isn't true. Now in this case, I've got some clouds up ahead. They look like they could be a bit bumpy. We could go around them. Not that one. That one. I'm going to pull the speed and I'm going to wind the speed back, and let's see if we can get the nose up. We're probably a bit too late to do this, but sometimes you can get the nose up. I'll leave the seatbelt signs on because this is going to be a high deck angle. By deck angle I mean the floor of the airplane is tilting by 10 degrees, so it would be hard for people to walk up and down. It could also be a bit difficult for the cabin crew controlling the trolleys, so we'll leave them strapped in and we'll wind that speed back, and we can actually hopefully climb almost above this one. Now you don't outclimb clouds or thunderstorms in the real world flying. It's not safe, but this is just a lumpy cloud, so I'm actually just trying to make it feel like a smoother flight. I'm not actually trying to avoid any serious weather. Doppy, thanks so much for the $1 tip. Doppy says, is the LDEV there because Fenix simulated GPS accuracy? That's pretty cool. No, the LDEV is there. I think it's just to do with this being an option on this within this airline. So if we go over to the airline options again, just import that sim brief again over there. You can see it says LDEV, so I'm going to get rid of it. There you go. That's what I'm more used to seeing. But this does simulate GPS accuracy. It even simulates where they are in the world and the random is it random? Autonomous integrity monitoring? Is it random? Is that the first word? Anyway, Engine anti-ice, ice not detected, so this aircraft is fitted with the ice detectors, so this is quite a fancy one. Saying there's no ice, we're out of it, so we don't need the wing ice, don't need the engine ice anymore. Again, I talk about that in my upcoming climbing video. Right, I think it's time to climb, so we did miss that cloud, that was pretty good, I'm glad that worked, it doesn't always. Let's get rid of the landing lights. And nose is nice and low. It's not too bumpy, is it bumpy? It's bumping around a bit. I think we'll leave the seatbelts until we get up into the cruise in this case, because it is bouncing around. Beautiful down there. Is it snowed? Am I on live weather? I've done this before where I've accidentally not been. Live weather, live time, yeah. And then we need to figure out how to reset this iPad. Is there anything we can click? Funnily enough, that allocation card works. Nope. Good stuff. Company message, let's just make sure. I think that was because they sent us 2 load sheets, so it's keeping that warning there. See messages. Yeah, see the bold ones? These are ones that we haven't read. So there's the weather, there's the load sheet. We accepted edition 2 in the end, so we're not using edition 1. That clears that message. Good stuff. So passing through 10,000 feet as well, I'm going to change from constraints to airport. There's no more constraints, which are those magenta text bubbles here. So we're going to change to airport so we can see diversion airfields around us. I'm surprised in Europe I'd already see loads. There you go, there's a few more. I don't know where any of these are or if they're suitable, but hopefully they are. And we're going to go into the RadNav and clear out any that we set, which there aren't. Secondary, we're going to copy the active. But thank you again, Dobby, for your $1. And thank you, Matthew, also for your Australian $10. Really very kind of you, Matthew. Matthew says, chicken or fish? The FO is having the lasagna. Very good. Yes, well, the FO's disappeared, so she's already gone into the cabin to get some lasagna, no doubt about it. Chicken or fish, indeed. That is the next dilemma. So, yeah, away we go. Thanks so much, Matthew. Really very kind. Really appreciate the $10. Very good, yeah. I tell you what, there's a rule of flying, which is that when your food arrives in the plane, it gets bumpy. Oh, tray table's out by this point as well, of course. No one's going to sit here looking without the tray table. It only goes away if we wanted to read a magazine or something. But yeah, so it starts getting bumpy. Another thing is it's quite hard to eat food on this tray during the climb, because if the nose is up, 5 degrees not so bad, but sometimes it's a bit higher. So there's a slight tilt, and then your food is on here, and then any turbulence, it just slides your food tray back towards you. So it's best to wait for the cruise for that in the 320. Now that is a very small complaint considering we have a tray table. Those in the 737 will not have any sympathy for that, I'm sure. Cameron would like us to go to KEGE. I don't know where that is. When is your next stream with the A320? Got to go now, sadly. Kieran, I don't know when it will be. They tend to be a bit last minute, but hopefully not too long. Hopefully not too long. I'm doing quite well recently. There is a light for the tray table, and it does work. It is here. That's the little scroller for it, and it's this bar here. I don't know if I can get the camera down. It's this little lip here, has some lights in it. At night it works. We used it last time on stream. Our colleagues are 20 miles ahead, only 1,800 feet above us, so that's probably from our little zoom climb we did. What happens if you spill food when flying? Do you clean it up and pretend it didn't happen, or have to report it? Well, if you just spill it, around on the carpet and it's not too bad, then you clean it up. If you ruin a seat with a cup of coffee, then you might need to report it so the sponge can be changed or properly cleaned. Otherwise, it's going to start to smell. And there is this little grate here. Oh no, let's get rid of this. Yeah, you don't want to spill anything in there. So there's certain areas that if we do spill stuff, we report it. Seen the new radio management panel, Nicholas, but it sounds better. I've said before, one of my least favourite things in the Airbus is the radio management panel, so that's a good thing. I'm glad to hear a new one's coming. I suspect it's better. Verplex, I don't know, I'm afraid, what that's for. Couldn't tell you fully. I have to ask Airbus, and I can tell you it isn't there on all Airbuses. Newer ones come without it now. Flight Data Sim would like a words, is what people are like. Yes. Well, Flight Data Sim, I saw a bit of his stream recently where he I think said about this point that it's time to go to sleep because you're an Airbus pilot or something to that effect, or maybe someone commented that, I can't remember, but yeah, I know we have a reputation, but you can have a reputation all you want if you've got a tray table in front of you and you can eat in a civilized way. Just need to get it to dining cloth on it. KEG is on your map. Everyone's, yeah, so I don't know where that is. Is that an exciting airport? Sounds like it might be. But thank you again, Matthew, for the very kind donation. Captain Canarius, thanks for the subscription. Sensitivity on the TCA slide stick is linear, neutral and neutral. Feels a lot heavier than the A320NX with default, in my opinion, says JR. Yeah, I don't know. My settings for the 320NX they feel relatively similar to me, but I haven't compared them straight after each other. But no, I think this one feels very nice. Christopher says, if you knock the control stick whilst in autopilot, will anything happen? Yes. So the autopilot is in now. There it goes. You can override it by leaning on the side stick. There is a lock on the side stick. AP1 re-engaged. There is a lock, so it's heavier. So it's not. When the autopilot's out, let's disconnect it. Oh, that's cool. Even when you press the disconnect, you can see the button move. I'm just pressing it with my assignment. By the way, the assignment you want is autopilot off. You must assign it to that phrase. There's lots of wrong ones that will mean that the ECAM keeps giving you the warning and so on. Autopilot off is the key assignment that you want for your red button or whatever disconnect button you're using, because that means you're using this button, which just is how it's designed to be used. Anyway, yeah, so while we're flying now, the side stick is loose and you can just move it around quite easily on the flight deck, hence your hand flying. If you put in the autopilot, you hear that clunk. I don't know, it's quite subtle. There is a clunk. By the way, let me know how the audio is if you can hear these things. And that clunk is a lock that sort of locks it in place, but you can overpower it by leaning on this enough. So if your iPad is mounted incorrectly, it could fall on the side stick, hence it's mounted just slightly back. You're not allowed to mount it at the front or it could fall and push it, which you don't want, of course. Fine for fun says, or you can do what the RAF did and get a camera lodged in the side stick, which Commander 4 knows. Yes, that was to do with the camera was put here and the armrest was down and it was slid forward and pushed into the side stick. Not good at all. Not good at all. JR says, so sorry, you say you have linear, not default on side. I have default / linear, they're the same. It should be just straight lines on your sensitivity. So the default one should be linear. Yeah. Can't believe it's snowy here still. 1,500 feet, 20 miles, we're not really catching them. So currently we're arriving with 2.9 tons of fuel at 1915, which is a ton extra. Yeah, there you go. So the fuel predictions improved slightly. It's a bit closer to what we expected now. So let's go 1915, 2.9. Let's up the cost next to 50. 1910, 2.7. Now in real life I wouldn't do that. 200 kilos of fuel just for 5 minutes is not worth it. Sometimes you can get 5 minutes with no change in the fuel. However, today I think it's going to be worth it. Let's try 70. 100 kilos for 1 minute, that's not worth it. So 50. Yeah, in real life, I'm not a fan of burning 200 kilos. 200 kilos is a lot of fuel to burn just for 5 minutes. It really isn't worth it. Love the sound effects there, just spot on. Key setting for auto throttle disconnect is one that's been coming up a lot lately. I don't think that's got one at the moment. I think that's in progress, but I'm not sure on that. Andrea says, biggest difference between an Airbus and a Boeing pilot has to eat on his knees. Well, exactly. That's it. That's the difference. That is the difference. Matthew says, hey, I don't pay for the fuel. Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, I know everyone won't agree with me on that, but that's my opinion on it. Predrag Jankovic has very kindly super chatted RSD 1500. RSD, now that's a new one. Predrag says, I'm not sure whether it makes sense or if it has been discussed before. I guess it was, but I think it'd be very interesting to see side stick and pedals operation in critical phases of flight. So thank you so much, Predrag. That's very kind of you. RSD, I must look it up because I feel terrible when I don't know the currency. Serbian dinar. So thanks so much for your very kind 1500 Serbian dinar. Really appreciate it. And to answer your question, yeah, it has come up. And is it something I'm going to do? Yes, I have a camera ready to go. So I assume what you mean with that is, are you going to have a camera to show hands and feet movement during critical stages of flight? And I think it would be good fun. Back out star. There we go. We're in the cruise. This should go to out cruise shortly. So I have a camera. I haven't quite mounted it properly in a way that I'm happy that we make a good video or good for the live stream, but it's something I'm definitely considering doing. So it's on the cards, definitely. Thank you, Predrag, for your very kind donation. Really appreciate it. Thanks very much for coming along. Thanks for commenting. Really appreciate it. Raj says, I live in Denver. We just had a winter storm. I know the place. I snowboard, got 20 inches of snow. There we go. So yeah, snow realistic then. Now we're heading out. Presumably the terrain's lowering around us. So getting a few bumps, 56 knots of wind, quite a strong headwind on this. But thank you again, Predrag. Really appreciate it. Serbian Dinar, yeah. Thank you, Harold. Thank you, Predrag, as well. And flying for fun. It says, does anything happen with the window, or doesn't that work in the sim? Ah, now that's a good question. So in real life, you would not be able to open the window now. No chance. The weight on it is too strong. There's no way you'd be able to open it. I haven't tried, and I don't want to try because I don't want to mess up a whole stream. That's something I'll try for the future. I don't know if anyone else has tried it, but I don't think I'd trust any answers now. If I ask and someone says, oh no, it's fine, it won't open, I don't want to believe them. Passengers are strapped in, but I really don't think I'd let them out if it's... It looks alright looking forwards. Looking at the side, it looks a bit bumpy. What does the camera look like in the cabin? So if you can see movement, it probably feels quite bumpy. By the way, I've seen people comment on it and I agree with them. I don't know how, but Fenix have got the best heat blur simulation in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I didn't even know that was going to change, but theirs is just excellent. And it looks different to some others. And their contrails look better than some others as well. It's very good. I don't know how they've done it. Okay. We'll have to let them go. Seems okay. Not getting worse. Steady wind. And he says, I've just tried to open my window, it won't, but you know, can I trust you, Ainsley? Because I know what I would say. Charlie says, do you use the wind wing side stick? I do. At the moment I'm using the Thrustmaster TCA, but I'm going to set up the wind wing to work with the Fenix for sure. I think that's definitely going to be a way to do it. Do you have to turn something on to start using PCA on the flight deck? I have turned it on in the EFE, but the temp keeps raising. I'm not sure how that's modelled at the moment, Iglufu, or Greg, sorry. So I'm not sure on that one. Matt says, did you turn the AC packs back on? Yes, we did. Just after we brought the thrust levers from flex to climb thrust. Here we go. Everyone says, Mariner Halley says, window doesn't open. A friend tried it the other night. Well, you know, I wish I could trust everybody. I wish I could. Thanks so much to Takita for the $10 tip, really very kind. Takita says, thank you so much for taking the time to do these streams. So helpful, informative and always interesting. That's really kind. Thanks so much, Takita. I'm really glad to hear it. I love doing these, but it's always nice to know that they aren't completely boring and people are enjoying them. So thank you very much. Really very, very kind of you. Thank you for your $10 tip. You really didn't need to, but I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming along. And thank you. Thank you again to Predrag, of course, earlier. But thank you, Takita. Really very kind. The refueling panel is not currently modelled, as far as I'm aware. Elise's Maggie says, Captain, I've realised that I cannot move the trim wheel when in flight. Is that realistic? I thought you were able to move the trim wheel by hand. No. So now the aircraft is in control of the trim wheel. Even if I disconnect the autopilot, the aircraft is in control of the trim wheel. We can set it after engine start on the ground, but now we wouldn't ever use it. We can move adjust levers, obviously, because auto trim is at play, so we can't retrim the airplane. We're in normal law, the airplane does it itself. We only use this in direct law, basically, or if there's some certain very few failures that would lead us to use that. Yeah. So we're in the cruise now. We've got our airports displayed. Let's do a fuel check. 1.7 burnt over 6, that adds up to 6 plus 1.6, sorry, 1.6 is the fuel we've used, so add that onto 6 tons, gives us 7.6, which is about the fuel we left with, so that makes sense. And do we have enough fuel to get to our destination? It's looking good, 2.4, so we're down to 400, we're burning that extra fuel as expected. The headwind is, I think, a bit stronger than we planned, but we know we're actually going to save a bit of fuel because these fuel flows are a bit low. See it revving up and down with that turbulence. Systems checks. Now that's something that does need to change, which is on the EIS2 screens. On the old EIS1, when you pressed all, it would close and then go to the next one, close, then go to the next one, close, go to the next one. However, on EIS2 now, my understanding is, and I may be wrong, there may be certain fits that are like this, in which case I'll definitely take that back. But in this one, it doesn't work like that, so I think it should. There we go. But like I say, this was for a long wait time the way Airbus did it. But there you go. I do not use Track IR. I don't have it. Jonathan says, when going from standard to QNH, is there a way to make the jump in altitude less violent when the pressure limit is high? Yes, but the only way to do that, Jonathan, is to be in a climbing or descending mode when you set it. Don't set it, obviously, whilst level, which there shouldn't be any reason you should. But no, the jump on the altimeter will always be that quick. So you just do it when you're in a descending or climbing mode. Thanks, Tony. Video man Chris says, I love the hover. Yeah, but see, that's somebody said that there was no click spot, and I question that. Oh, I don't know what we did there. Lightyear Studios, thanks for the subscription. Thank you again to Kentucky for the very kind follow. Yeah, no, this is just not having it. No problem. We will hop over and borrow the FOs. That's why we have 2. I love the fact, I think that's really great that there are actually 2 available separately running. I think that just shows the power of this EFB. It's really quite remarkable. Let's not break it though. Right, in the chat, what else am I missing? Sean says this was probably asked already, but why do you need to turn off packs before takeoff? You don't need to, but if you run your performance with the packs off for takeoff, then you would take off without them because they are a drain on power. So they take considerable amounts of power from the engines because they're effectively siphoning off some of the air that the engine wants to use for thrust, and they're sending it into the cabin. So you turn them off if you need extra performance, and it saves a bit of fuel. That's why you would do it routinely. Dougal, thanks so much for your $12.57 tip. I'm sure that's a conversion that gives that specific number, but thanks so much, Dougal. That's really very kind of you. Dougal says you're a true gent of the flight sim community. Thank you for all you do for us. Dougal, that's far too kind. You do so much for the community, so there's it's very kind of you to say that. Really appreciate it, and thank you for all of your efforts and for coming along today and moderating. And yeah, Dougal's been a part of this community since way back, right at the start. Dougal got in contact way before this channel. I don't even think we were at anything close to 1,000 subscribers back then. So really appreciate it, Dougal. That's very, very, very kind of you. And thanks for coming along today. And thanks for everything you do for the community. It's really appreciated. Really appreciate it. Arca says, my TCA D10s only register idle and toga. Followed your instructions. That's a shame. Yeah, if you go to the Discord, they do offer some support in that. Brianny Silver, good to see you. Brianny says, looking at 2 or 3 days a week flying. Brianny, your message is gone. I'm so sorry. Brianny, send your message again. I'm going to scroll to the bottom. We're going to have to skip a load. There's 800 people watching, so thank you all for joining us. Do hit the like button if you are enjoying it, and Brianny, I'll try and get you a message again. Sorry about that. Matthew says, how often are packs off takeoffs done for non-performance reasons? Depending on the airline SOP, it could be almost every takeoff, but since COVID, it's a lot rarer. Trini would like the sunshades down. Happily. Yeah, a lot of glare from that snow. So this light EFB is not using, or not working, I should say, so that can go. I did see a picture on, yeah, look at that. There's even smudges on the sunshade. Now this sunshade, considering we look through it quite a lot, is one of the most, just trying to see what the reflection is of. Who's that? Sorry. Right. So yeah, the sunshade even has the smudges, because we sit here and it's sort of glossy plastic. It's one of the few things in the airplane that is. So when you move it down, you move it with your hands, and yeah, it gets absolutely grimy and terrible. So it is one of the things that I actually clean quite regularly on the airplane. When I get on, I'll wipe it down. It just looks terrible, smudgy, hair gel and things on it. Window seat, good to see you. Window seat, our resident Airbus engineer. Window seat says, evening all and 320 Sim pilot. Sorry I didn't say hello earlier. Have been watching along whilst prepping a Monday evening barbecue. Excellent, enjoy your barbecue. Window seat, very jealous. Sounds lovely. I think it might rain here in the UK, but I hope you're doing very well, window seat. Thanks for joining us. Window seat, our very helpful, ever knowledgeable Airbus engineer. Leonard says, super chatted, €5, really appreciate it. Leonard says, your stream is a mixture of two of the most beautiful things in the world, planes and British English. Where exactly are you from in Britain? Thanks so much, Leonard. Really, really appreciate the donation. Very kind of you, and I'm glad you're enjoying the stream. That's really very, very generous of you. Yeah, I really appreciate it. Now, I'm not going to say exactly where I'm from, but I'm from the south of the UK, southeast basically, which is, I'm quite comfortable saying that because nearly everyone, or a lot of people are. I say nearly everyone, that's totally not true, but there is a large population in that part of the UK. It's a very dense area, so there's a lot of people from that part of the country. But thank you very much, Leonard. Really appreciate it, and glad you're enjoying the stream. Brianni says, no worries, mate. Hope all is well. Looking at 2 to 3 days of flying because of work. I was wondering if you could give me an estimate how long it would take me to get to a frozen ATPL. Brianni, excellent news. Great to hear from you again. I hope you're doing very well. That is a tricky question. I mean, to get to a frozen ATPL, it's an 18-month experience if you do it in the quickest sort of route usually. And it can take a lot longer if you do it modular, which is absolutely fine. But you could work at the same time. But that could take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, depending how long you want it to take, really. Although there is a certain validity of the exams, and I'm talking about the UK there. It would obviously vary around the world. Europe should be similar. But yeah, good to see you again, Brianna. I hope you're doing very well. Sorry I can't be a bit more helpful with that question. Paul says he's not from Preston, like what I am. Exactly. Yeah, so most people in the UK would certainly have guessed where I'm from my accent, I'm sure. Try to restart EFB and reconnect the cable. Yes, I don't know how to restart it. Look at that. I love that you can't even click. You're not allowed to bring it back when you have the shades up. That's just great. Stephen says the detail in VR is also astounding. The shades are so realistic. That's great. Yeah, I haven't tried them in VR. It's a good idea. Tom, thanks so much for your tip, your $10 tip. Really appreciate it, Tom. Tom says Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 was my first flight sim, and your videos gave me the confidence to fly airliners and use VATSIM. Thanks for guiding me through fly-by-wire, and now I'm looking forward to learning the Fenix. Tom, thanks so much. Really didn't need to, but I really appreciate your $10 tip. Very generous. And Tom, I'm glad you've been using. It's great. There's a whole generation whose first simulators will be Microsoft Flight Simulator. I say generation, I simply mean it's a generation of simmers, not an age thing. But yeah, it's great to have you here, and I'm glad you've been enjoying the videos. Yeah, a lot of the stuff from the fly-by-wire is going to carry straight over into the Fenix. The thing with the Fenix is it's just a few details. We're talking about the older style Airbus, and of course we are going to have things like their EFB and loading and the failures soon to look through. So yeah, lots and lots of details in this aircraft. I thought of another one I wanted to show in the cruise that works, and I've forgotten what it was. That's annoying. But I think every flight we're going to see something new with this airplane, and a little detail that I've probably forgotten about or haven't shown very often on stream, such as already we had the CBR test with that beep we saw earlier. Let's go and grab this message. AOC. But thank you again, Tom, for the very kind tip, and thanks Winner for the follow. Receive messages. Ops. ADC for 1 minute. Oh, come on. We're going to get in trouble. Another 1 minute delay. That's 2 delayed flights for us. Not good. Not good at all. We can go to delay code location. What are we going to put in? There we go. ODI. We'll say it was incorrect departure time because I planned a flight that was absolutely hopeless to manage. ODI. Send. Thank you, Avionic, for the follow. Thanks again to Dougal as well for your very kind donation. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Jonathan Charles, for the subscription. El Teso says, can you show your in-game graphic settings? I have an i9 9900 and a 3080 Ti. It doesn't go as smooth as yours. Thank you for the tutorials. I just have it set to the preset of Ultra. Although I've turned down a few traffic things at the moment. Just to see if that helps today. Because Los Angeles is very intensive on the FPS. But I'm surprised your i900 isn't managing. Your i9 isn't managing a bit better. Could be a old program. Make sure you don't have any old programs running in the background that might be not so compatible. AVX says, "Oh, I didn't even know the sunshade was there." There you go. There's always more details of this airplane. Flight Sim says, "Hi, I'm flying the same route in the same aircraft livery, but the reg plate inside says G Phoenix. Any thoughts?" Yeah, I don't know then. Where did you get that livery from, Flight Sim? Because I'm using one of the official Phoenix liveries from their livery manager. Midnight Shock says, "Hey, 320 Sim Pilot, sorry if you already answered that, but will there be a Phoenix landing guide with explaining the top of descent and calculating it?" Yes, Midnight Shock. So far on the Phoenix, I've done cold and dark to takeoff as sort of a video for those of you who are new to the Airbus, because I know this aircraft's brought in lots of new Airbus enthusiasts, which is great news. Next, I've done autopilot in the climb and using it to manage your navigation, so heading, nav, direct. That's quite a big concept because it's the whole push and pull. That's one of the bigger Airbus differences over Boeing, this little panel. It's genius. It works so well. Look how few buttons. This is our little FCU, and yet we can do everything the Boeing can with it. It's great. Almost everything. Before I get in trouble. The next one, coming hopefully tomorrow, is going to be from takeoff to top of climb, or takeoff to cruise, where I go through the actual procedures, where you put the lights on and off, where we do the fuel checks and so on. So that's coming tomorrow, hopefully, if all goes well. And then soon I'll be making the video, obviously, which will be the opposite of that, which will be preparing for the descent, flying the descent, and then another one for the approach and landing, no doubt. So that will come. Paul says, Preston is northwest, so I called that right. Absolutely. Indeed, the accent gives away from the southeast. Sean says, what's the procedure for turning on anti-ice mid-flight? You turn on the ignition. Some engines, they will automatically turn on the ignition when you turn on the engine anti-ice. This one doesn't, but no. There's no need to turn on the ignition unless you're concerned about super heavy rain or something like that. But if it's just ice, no. And the more modern aircraft, like the NEOs, don't turn on. I think it's a CFM thing, actually, that you don't have ignition. Not 100% sure on that, but that's what I think. Received messages. Thanks, Rich, for the follow. USA Ops. ADC received. Yeah, they're not impressed with us, but that was their fault. They didn't give me enough time, did they? Ronald says, I flew VR yesterday. Don't you hit the throttle while climbing in the chair? So no, and the reason for that is this chair goes backwards. It's not modelled, but it goes backwards and then it goes left. It doesn't have rails on the floor. They've got a fancier system than the Boeing. It's actually mounted into the base here. But it goes backwards and left. So the seat, you can move it all the way back to the side, and then you can just walk in and sit down, and then you slide it forward. So this position is the actual in-flying sort of position. I probably wouldn't even sit with it this far forward in the cruise. I'd probably have it a bit further back. Once again, thanks for the follow. Black Rabbit as well, thanks for subscribing. Will Nerd says, seeing your YouTube video, great content. Thanks, Will. Glad you liked it. Blue says, blame it on the EFB. Right, I'm going to have to scroll through the chat. So sorry. I keep jumping through when there's so much going on. There's 800 of you. If you are enjoying, do please hit the like button. It makes a big, big difference. Let's jump into a nice window view. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Paul, I've used Brussels, the one from Aerosoft. No, not hard. It does have a bit of an FPS hit, but it's not too strong. It's still better on FPS than like Los Angeles was. Grump says, why is my live chat not working on YouTube? I don't know, but I can see you here. Scrolling through. 3 Shy says, is there a list of liveries available anywhere? I want to know what liveries they have included. So the liveries list, it's a good question. I don't know if there is a list. There might be on their website. There's quite a lot. I think there's over 100 liveries included from the start, and they're very good. It's very good quality. Firebird says, "You're great. Thanks for your amazing work here on the stream and YouTube." Thank you so much, Firebird. Really appreciate it. Glad you like the videos. It's very kind of you. Leonid Lunin says, "Are there any airplane-related museums in the UK I should visit if I fly to UK?" Duxford. You should go to Duxford. There's also Hendon in London, but Duxford would be my top choice. Duxford Imperial War Museum is fantastic. Depends where you are. If you're from America, then it might not be so impressive because you've probably got more than America. But yeah, Duxford's a very good one. Roy says, "Not everything. You can't sink the heading bug." Oh wait, there's no point doing it anyway. Exactly, Roy. Roy understands. Absolutely. Hendon. Chris Parkin says, yeah, RAF Hendon as well is also very, very good. RAF Hendon a little bit more old school. Duxford a little bit more modern. Duxford's massive though. It's very good. Birdman says, "On landing earlier, I got autoflight autopilot off. I think after I disengaged autopilot on master warning kept going off. Any ideas?" Yes, Birdman, you need to assign your autopilot off button that you want to use on your joystick to the command autopilot off. It will be probably set to disconnect or servos disconnect or something different in Microsoft Flight Simulator. So change it to the command autopilot off. Very important you do that. Talk about that in my setup video. It's that way it will simulate the proper thing where you just get a few chimes and it doesn't give you constant warning. Rakon says, "That means many folks are seeing your first tutorial and now circling for days as they're missing the tutorial to land. That's quite irresponsible." Yes, that's basically what happened, Rakon. I put up the cold and dark to takeoff because that was where the biggest differences were. So I thought, well, it makes sense to put up a video for people to show you the differences of the EFB, the loading, the SimBrief integration, getting your flight plan in through ACARS, some things that we haven't seen or are slightly different to what we've seen before. So I thought, great, I'll do that. And then what happened was, of course, with so many new people arriving because of the Fenix who hadn't been interested in the Airbus before, they haven't seen my other videos. And YouTube, the way it works, it promotes newer videos more than older ones, so they haven't had a chance to see those. So yeah, I've been getting a lot of questions and people waiting for the next one. So at the moment, people can take off and use the autopilot. Hopefully tomorrow they'll be able to climb, and then we'll get on with the rest. And they can hopefully land. But if they look on the channel, if you are new and you're waiting for those tutorials but you just can't wait, I will do specific Fenix ones, but there are plenty on the channel already where I talk through those phases individually, and it will be the same as in the Toliss. So the Toliss is a very detailed simulation as well, so if you watch one of the Toliss videos, that will pretty much be applicable to the Fenix, especially now we're talking about stuff in the air as opposed to the on the ground stuff with the EFB and so on. Yes, you can pop out the screens. Yep, they pop out, but you can't see it because of the way I have my streaming set up. But yes, they do pop out. Thanks, Luca, for the subscription, and Pavel and Griffin. Sean says, "Do pilots know what kind of cargo they're carrying?" Good question. We will know if it's something unusual, and we'll know if there's any dangerous goods. Otherwise, we don't particularly know. We can ask. Pavel says, good to see you again, Pavel. Pavel says, "Hi sir, when do we use wing anti-ice? You used only engine anti-ice during takeoff." So, wing anti-ice is used if we think ice is built up on the aeroplane. How do we know? Well, we can look at this little spigot here, and if there's ice on the leading edge of it, then we know that there's ice in the airframe, so we would then run the wing anti-ice. That's the time we use wing anti-ice. Now, this aircraft has the ice detecting feature, so it would also tell us, but a lot of Airbuses don't have that. Very hard to see at night. It is lit internally, and Fenix have modelled it perfectly in the sense that it's basically useless. You can hardly see it at night. Very hard to see. Airbus does not pick up ice very often. Wing anti-ice is quite rare to need. Ralph agrees Duxford is amazing. Yeah, absolutely, it is great. You're welcome, Leonard. Nick says, "My Fenix has shown bugs where it is hell-bent on following the vertical profile and ignoring my manually set vertical speed, plus rapidly going down from 3,000 to 1,000 plus." Okay, I haven't seen that, Nick, but that does sound like quite a nasty bug, yeah. I'm sure that they're working on it. Do submit a support ticket if you're having issues. Ducks and forts, got it, says Sean. Harry says, "You need 2 days visiting Duxford." Indeed, it is massive. Landing gear lives next to RAF Hendon. Yeah, Hendon's a very good museum. You're welcome, Birdman. Braindead says, "Hey, 320 Sim Pilot, how did you go through your flight training? Did you go through a cadet scheme?" So I don't talk exactly how I did it, but I always recommend cadet schemes if you can find one. But I won't be too specific, just because you start to narrow yourself down quite a lot if you get into that. Source for Dave, so some of the planes at Duxford are practically charged with friends. Been on that Concorde more times than I count. Excellent, yes. I saw a video where they lowered the nose on the Concorde recently, that's pretty cool. Seeing as we know a bit more about Concorde than we did a few months ago, having flown it finally on the channel. Window Seat says, did you notice a walk around the lower flap kink seals missing? These rubber seals that adjoin the inboard and outboard flap covering the interconnecting strut. Let's have a look. Yeah, I think they're there, but modelled in a slightly different way, I think. But yeah, definitely, Window Seat is the ultimate eye for detail, because Window Seat spends a lot of time with the real model, or the actual airplane. So yeah, I think you're right. Dark Rabbit says, will you show Cat 3 auto land? Yes, we'll do a video on auto landing for sure. Toliss versus Fenix, says Paul, is very hard to say. This wins in the graphics department. It's also got more immersion stuff with the EFB and the load cheats and so on. We've also got all the failures, but the Toliss has an incredible failure system. It's also got randomized faults, and it has great things like the ability to save your situation. So for training, it's very good. So if you're using the Toliss in X-Plane, you've got an excellent Airbus simulation there for sure. Captain Ray says, opinion between Fenix and fly-by-wire. So this question is going to get asked a lot, and I can understand it. Fly-by-wire is very good, but it's not as complete. The Fenix is the full deal. It's got all the details, it's got all the failures, it's got all the systems underneath already working. So they're different things at this point. But the fly-by-wire is still excellent. Such a great introduction to the Airbus. The way they've done the control laws and so on, and rotate laws in there, and the systems they have got working are great. So don't get me wrong. If you're flying normal operations in an Airbus, the fly-by-wire is excellent. But this Fenix graphically is on another level as well, because they've just gone all out. It's a remarkable model. James says, how is your radio panel doing? Mine works for radio but not for QNH transponder. My matching Logitech FCU panel doesn't work at all. Oh, that's a shame, James. My radio panel works absolutely fine. Let's try transponder. I haven't tried that. No. No, so for transponder, no goods. But the radio frequencies, fortunately, do work. That's the only thing that is definitely working, so that's good. That's what I use it for, frankly, for streaming. Conveyance Game says, have you had any like tuning VORs and hearing the Morse code? Oh, I never do that, because I always just look for the code here. VOR 1, let's listen. I haven't tried though. Speakers are turned up. East Fortune is good if you get north to Scotland, says Rabbit. Ah yes, East Fortune. There you go, another good one. Neighbour says, can you explain what Fenix screen is doing on login? Do I just leave it running? New to this Hoppy ACARS thing. Yes, not talking about Hoppy ACARS, but Fenix will just it will load up the app when you load up the airplane on its own, and you just leave it running. Yeah, don't close it. Pavel says, I have a question. What can cause a lack of performance in the A320? Because I set the toga to 89.3, and when I push the thruster toga, they only reach 85.5. I'm not quite sure what the question is with that one, Pavel, I'm afraid. The thrust settings dynamic. So this is a limit. 88.6 is the limit in this position. If I was to go to toga with the thrust levers all the way forward to toga, the new limit is 89.0. Oh, I see. So they're not actually reaching it. Huh. Interesting. I can't answer that one now. Right now, I'm afraid. Not entirely sure. I'd need to play a bit more. Whether there's other limits in the backgrounds that will limit it beside the number up here, I'm not sure. Yeah, good question. Sorry about that. Gromp, this is a common question. Where do you find the landing weight? So, landing weight. There's two ways to do it. There is a really simple way, which is if you have your EFB working, all you need to do is go to your load sheet, mass and balance, and look at your zero fuel weight. So 57.4. So that is the fuel. That's the weight of the aircraft without fuel. 57.4 tons. And then you add the fuel you expect to have on landing. So estimated fuel on board at landing in Los Angeles is 2.8. So whatever that weight was, I've forgotten already. 57.4 plus 2.8. So that's 60.4. So 60.2 tons on landing is my current expected landing weight. However, another way of doing it is the subtraction method. So you can take your gross weight, your current weight, because this is loaded in at the start, so this should be accurate, is 62.5 tons. That's what the aircraft weighs right now. But that includes fuel. I'm going to burn some of the fuel, so I'll be lighter than that when I land. So what I'll do is I've got 5.1 tons of fuel on board now. The airplane thinks I'm landing with 2.8. So how much am I going to burn in the meantime? So that is 2.8. So that's 2.3 tons of fuel I'm going to burn in the meantime. So then you take 2.3 away from 62.5. 2.3 would be 62.2. Sorry, 60.2. What am I talking about? 60.2. So that's two ways of doing it. Hope that makes sense? But yeah, you have to work it out. It's not written anywhere. Chappie says, Phoenix is telling me left side stick fault, calibrate null zone. It all seems configured correctly. Am I okay to fly without doing anything? So Chappie, what's probably happening is you need to increase the null zone. It could mean that there's a bit of interference from your side stick. So if you go to config, controls, and then side stick, then you could increase the side stick null zone a bit. Try increasing it to say 5. I think that might get rid of that error message. It might do. It might not, in which case put it back. And yeah, but try that out. Because I think what it's telling you is that you're just getting a bit of interference from your controller. It's like sending it some signals when it shouldn't be. And the risk there would be that when you engage the autopilot, if it senses a movement of the side stick, it will disconnect the autopilot all the time, which would be very annoying for you. So if you increase the null zone, it will hopefully not register those as movements. There's no good Q400 for FS 2020 at the moment, Tabrish. And if there's a freeware one, I don't mean it's bad. I'm just saying there's no highly detailed one like we have in X-Plane. Giuseppe's Gaming to Infinite, good to see you. Been a while indeed. Thanks for coming along. I hope you're doing very well. Very busy few weeks for you, no doubt. Christian says, does anyone know whether Phoenix will add IE engines down the line? Yes, they will. Thanks, Dougal. See you next time. Great to have you here. Sorry I've missed if I missed your messages. I use a 1440p monitor, Phil. Winglets are also planned indeed, as AC455 says. Defline Mabine says, this plane is just gorgeous, can't get enough of it. Agreed, agreed, agreed. This is the crazy thing with these aircraft, when you just sit here and the world is just slipping by underneath you. It's remarkable, remarkable. Wayne says, in the Phoenix customized aircraft, what is DDRMI? That is talking about this instrument down here. So this is a DDRMI. I can't tell you what it stands for. this little instrument here. So some airplanes have it, some don't. It just points to VORs and shows you DMEs as a sort of backup, but we primarily use the ones up here. It's just a backup instrument and designed for sort of big emergencies, but they stopped using it. Andy H132, good to see you. I hope your day wasn't too stressful. Great to have you here just for a few minutes while dinner's cooking. Very nice. I hope you have a nice dinner on the way. Frank says, have you ever done a walk around and found an issue that caused an aircraft to need to be swapped out? Yes, I have. Matt T says, is there anything special to get traffic to show up on the ND? I don't seem to get any traffic displays. So what you need to do is you need to make sure you've gone to your transponder and you've set it on the right here to TARA, and the display should be set to all, above or below. If you only set it to threat, it might limit it a little bit. So I'm going to go for below. Now we're in the cruise. Yeah, so make sure that's below, that's TARA, and your transponder should be in auto as well. Those need to happen, and then it will appear on your navigation display. Giuseppe says, doing fine. Just finished my review of the Phoenix, so I'm relaxing a little bit. Watching more of the Phoenix, I suppose. Very good, Giuseppe. Yeah, it's been crazy, hasn't it? I'll check out your review later, yeah. Giuseppe over at Twinfinite Gaming. Big gaming magazine website. So loads of great reviews and articles on there. So yeah, I'll be curious to see your review, definitely. Bella says, Captain, will you make a landing tutorial with TTA controls in view? Yeah, that's something to consider. I'm going to have to do this. It's getting a lot of requests for the in-view stuff now. I think because we've seen it more common now, it's everybody. Well, I know Flight Sim and V1 have both done it, so yeah, I can see why people like it. So definitely an idea. Small screens above the MCDU. These are the CPDLC screens. We don't use CPDLC at the moment. I'm going to learn how to use it and use it online on VATSIM, but this is something we use in the real aircraft all the time, and it's a way of talking to our traffic control without actually having to use the radio. But for now, I don't know how to use it, as I do know in the real aircraft, but I haven't got a Hoppy ACARS code and all that stuff. And you don't need to use it to fly this aircraft online or on VATSIM. So if you did get the Phoenix, don't worry about the Hoppy ACARS bit. You can ignore that. Don't bother with it, and you'll be absolutely fine. AVX says, how much more efficient is the A320 with a sharklet? I believe it's a few percent, but I couldn't tell you exactly. Windows seat might know more than me on that. But it's a few percent, which is pretty good going for basically free. So Wizbowski says, every ILS approach I do has no magenta pips and amber ILS warning on the displays. Frequency is tuned and approach mode is on the AP. What am I missing? So what you need to do, Wizbowski, is you need to press this, and then they will appear. The reason you're getting ILS flashing is because you probably haven't pressed this. Michael says, I'm very tempted to buy Microsoft Flight Simulator for the Phoenix. I love Toliss, but it's lacking the ACARS. There you go. Yeah, I can see your point, definitely. Now there's the, thanks Wayne. Wayne says, digital distance radio magnetic indicator. That's what the DDRMI is. Very good. So you can see it's just replicating the VOR information. If I go to VOR, got VOR1 selected, there's my needle. VOR1 is pointing off to the right. It's 29 miles to PGA. So down here, pointing off to the right, 29 miles. That's all it's doing. So it's largely redundant for nearly all of the time. So often it's inopt or MEL'd. Donkin says, does the VOR on the ND automatically connect to nearby VORs? Or do you always have to put them in manually? I've heard somewhere they did it on auto. They do it on auto. If you press RadNav on the MCDU, they are automatically tuning, and it's tuning to the nearest suitable one. But you can override it and write it in yourself if you want. Now that's miles away. Oh no, there's one a bit closer, but there you go. And then it appears in big writing to tell you you've done it. In general, in the MCDU, blue writing means you can override it. And if it's blue and then you write it in yourself, it will show it in big font. It's quite a clever little system to show you what you've entered. Andy will be back. Enjoy your dinner, Andy. Don't rush. Thanks, window seat as well, DDRMI. Very good. Standby compass is modelled. Absolutely. They're not missing that one. And apparently it does spin when you start the APU. Sorry, start engines. I need to check that. No, APU. It would be when you start the APU because that uses higher electrical load. I have to compare it to the real airplane. LA Centre is online. Hockey for life. Oh no. I was hoping it'd be quiet. Phil says, is there a time of day you prefer to fly? I love flying just before dawn. I really, really like flying just before it gets light. Really like that. Otherwise, I like flying most times. Taylor says, what's the most annoying thing the crew before you can do, Captain? What's the most annoying thing the crew before you can do? Good question. Good question. So Matteo there is talking about if you take over an airplane, what don't you want to find? So I can tell you the most annoying thing, the absolute top, is leaving food or drinks on the flight deck. I have found before, obviously, old cups of tea, half drunk, sitting here. That's ridiculous. No good at all. Sandwiches sitting underneath the seats. Not on the Airbus, that was on the dash, but yeah, that's really annoying. Half-eaten sandwiches, I mean. So any sort of rubbish that's left, you want to leave it empty. So I make sure it's just completely, you know, as I found it. No paperwork anywhere, no rubbish. And yeah. More minor offences would be things like the printer roll nearly running out. So having like the red marker on it to tell you it's nearly run out. And if you sit down and start your day and find it like that, it's a bit like, oh, they could have changed it. However, they may not have known. It may not have been red when they were sitting there. But there you go, a few things. But mainly the food. The food is my biggest thing. Can't stand finding food, old food and cups of tea on the flight deck. Ridiculous. Very rare, very rare. People are generally very good. Frank says, have you ever flown a route completely manual? I have in the dash, not in the Airbus, because in the Airbus we go up into RBSM airspace. So up here I have to use the autopilot. I'm obliged to use the autopilot. And if we lose the autopilot, we have to descend. Whereas in the dash we flew lower, we didn't need the autopilot for the cruise, so we were allowed to manually fly, so the aircraft could dispatch without an autopilot. And I have done a day at work where the autopilot wasn't working in the dash, and we flew it around manually all day. And that aircraft was not as easy to fly as this one. I'll tell you that. Goodness me, so much chat, so I do apologise. Astro Juices, I do wish the Phoenix ATSU had block time. The FS Labs one does. There you go. Oh, Los Angeles on no. 555. I thought we'd have a bit more time. Oh no, here we go. Is that Hasse? Jassy? Jassy? I really don't know. Oh dear. That's disappointing. I thought I'd at least check in and sound like I knew what I was doing. Los Angeles, US 310, flight level 340 to Jassy.
It's 310, LA Center, squawk 7252.
Squawk 7252, US Air 310. Of course they'd say 310. Why didn't I think of that?
Your question southwest 23 or 2318. The wind is variable 527.
Why didn't I think of that? 7252. Of course, the Americans. In Europe, you'd get 3-1.
That A320 pilot.
Maybe.
Sir, 310's going to contact 20 west of Tuba City 340.
Thank you, US Air 310. Oh dear. Right, let's turn up the sound a bit so I can hear them properly.
Hunter 2129, the wind variable 5, runway 27.
Yeah, in Europe that would be 310, but of course in America it's 310, which I think is better.
7, Frontier 2129, thanks.
That says gross company.
Average 65.
People leave food there, I would not be happy. Indeed not.
2990, average 65.
310. Yeah, that's what I'm sure that's what we say in Europe. Yeah, I think you're right. It's too bouncy. Seatbelt's coming on. Cameron crew would probably call us up and ask for it. Video Man Chris says, so when the pilot mentions on the PA to put the tray tables in the upright position, he can mean pilot and FO as well. Now, see, no, we make our own rules with our tray tables. They do actually have to be closed as per SOP for takeoff and landing, of course.
LA Center, good morning. Amtran 463 at Burbank, requesting I-4 clearance to Oakland, please.
Busy centre. Hockey for Life says that must have been when you decided to go Airbus. Talking about when I had to do a day without the autopilot. That was one thing that definitely helped make the Airbus appeal. The Airbus you can't dispatch without an autopilot. It's not allowed for this reason. Window seat says 4% fuel burn to reduce from sharklets to winglets. There you go, 4%.
Pilot, just wanted to thank you. Learned a lot from you.
Thanks very much. You're very welcome. Thank you. That's very nice of them. We've never had that.
We got celebrities. I'm a celebrity too.
Derek is the #1 celebrity up here.
Yeah, I don't know if it's good publicity, but people do enjoy it.
Only in LA.
I assume everybody here is streaming then.
I guess your experience varies depending on your level of knowledge. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, well, at least the American controllers are quite relaxed about it.
Your knowledge is varies by your experience, I think.
American 2690 at Circus, you cleared the GPS Yankee 25 left approach.
That Frontier was flying into LAS last night when I was there, so talking about there you go. Grump says, are you allowed to switch to FPA descent in the middle of an ILS approach if the ILS should fail? Yes, as long as you're visual. If the ILS has failed, you can't carry on procedurally unless you're visual with the runway.
Alpha 763 ready at 20 right.
763, the wind is...
He's so right, LA gets some of the worst pilots, says Lauren. That's in keeping professional such as FE, indeed.
2318, welcome to San Diego. Left turn, enable Bravo to the gate. G'day.
What time will we land? Current landing time is 1916 UTC. I'm going to be eating dinner late tonight. Can you guys hear air traffic? Is that working out? SimBrief ID is indeed set up, Abilius Gittis. Absolutely. Tom says, this is the most realistic ATC convo I've ever heard. Bushi2 says, oh, that's just great. ATC enjoying the SimPilot experience. So cool. I'm not sure that... I don't think the air traffic controller or somebody else in this frequency definitely doesn't know who we are. Because I think in America we are not... We're very rarely here, so... Phil says, are the cockpit instruments waterproof? Not all of them. So the answer to what would happen if you spill stuff on them is don't. Don't.
Runway 7, taxi.
Crazy says, after that sim controller tells you on what runway to land, then we have to set it in MCDU, right? Yes, absolutely. Landing Gear says, in one stream, the number of subscribers changed from 60.4 to 60.5. Congrats. Thanks so much, Landing Gear. Yeah, we've had a lot of subscribers, so thank you to all the new followers and subscribers. Sorry if I've not said anything. It's been so busy. Yeah, I don't think this controller knows us for sure.
Concord 1567.
There's a Concorde out there. Excellent.
580 and direct Dinty, high speeds approved.
Alpha 763, 3,300.
763, Alexander radar contact, I'll maintain final 370.
I'll maintain 370, Southwest 763.
Oscar 279, center maintain 7,000, proceed direct Silex.
7,000 direct Silex.
Delta 763, clear direct to Tijuana, Tango, India, Juliet.
Navy Jacks, thank you so much for your $15 super chat. Really appreciate it. Navy Jacks says, so helpful to use new Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. Thank you for everything. You're very welcome, Navy Jacks. Thank you so much for your very kind donation. Really, really appreciate it. You didn't have to, but I really, very kindly. Thank you so much. Great to have you here. I hope you're enjoying it. The other Jason says, I saw a 320 Sim Pilot Manta bumper sticker randomly in this area of the US, so you're not totally unknown. Excellent, the other Jason. Glad to hear it. Yeah, we have stickers available in the store. I keep meaning to do some new merchandise. Rox, hello to you. I'm sure JFK controllers will be less relaxed as Brain Logan. Yes, I can imagine so. Nicholas says, no pressure indeed. Georgie says, I like nobody knowing who I am about Sim. Takes all the pressure off. Yes, yeah, no, I agree. Yes, there's quite a high pressure when we're in America because I am pretty clueless on a lot of the procedures.
PS 227 at circus cleared the
right. I'm going to skip questions just for now. Thank you for those subscriptions and follows. What we're going to do is set up possible arrivals. So what do we say the landing runway is going to be? 25 left. So let's put up the ILS 25 left. And what's the alternative? What was the other runway people reckoned? Is it 25 right?
227 at circus cleared the RNAV.
24 right?
Yankee 25 left approach.
George says, when's RMP approach video coming through? Yeah, that will be on the way. We'll do that. I'll just need to get through the normal sector, so I've got a couple more videos to do, and then we'll do the RNAV. RNAV's a big topic, but it's going to be great fun, and then we'll start flying some more challenging approaches into RNAV places. 25 left, 24 right, so it's a bit like Paris Charles de Gaulle or somewhere. Look at me constantly trying to relate it to something I'm used to. And ground charts.
The wind is
well, I'll favourite the standard taxi routes.
Takeoff runway 7.
There's a lot of charts. Okay, so vacating to the right, crossing the runway into the terminal.
279 is.
It's not as big as I imagined.
14 miles from Silex, across Silex.
Lots of runways, but I bet it's
approach.
incredibly busy. So then we're going to want a parking charts.
Cactus 1331 will be ILS 24 right.
24 right, Cactus 1331.
That'll do. There's a cactus out there. There you go. Okay, so that's good, right? We've got what we need here. So Angel 4 arriving at Circus, and then we can get from Circus to the ILS 24 right, and we can get to Circus to 25 left. So that's good. A view of the city, although pretty horrible weather. Alex is surrounded by urban areas. There's no room to expand. There you go. Makes sense. Santiago Perez, good to see you. Good to see you caught the stream. Thanks for coming. George says, hello and good evening. How are you doing? We're doing well. Thanks for coming, George. I hope you're doing well. XW says, why don't you tune down the yellowish floodlights? I don't have the yellowish floodlights. Oh, these. You can do. I leave them on for the stream. But yeah, you're right. In the daylight, you have them like that, which does work quite well.
Amtran 463 at Burbank, ready for taxi.
Amtran 463, runway 15, taxi via Alpha Cross runway 8.
So everyone says 24 right or 25 left. Okay, perfect. Thanks very much, everybody.
Taxi runway 15, Alpha Cross runway 8.
I don't think this is going to be working yet. Why I just leave the mouse there? Go straight into sort of that hovering thing, like it's trying to move them around. Ah, such a shame. I've used it so much, never seen this one. I wish I knew how to reset it though. I'm sure there's a way. Oh yeah, Flipstar says, did you put it in your MCDU? That was the question. Yeah, very good. We absolutely did not. So arrival, Angel 4. So I need to get, so we've got the right approach and we've got the Angel 4. I need to go to the Vias via Circus. And I'm hoping, nope, that's not good enough. Why has that not worked? Let's go back to our charts. Let's see. Circus. Oh, I see, Angel, but we need to come in via one of these waypoints. So what was our flight plan taking us in via?
Paper 7 over to Unicom 122.8, we'll see you.
Right. De Niro. Is that supposed to be for De Niro? Is that what that is? I won't do that. That would accidentally delete everything, but that's pretty cool they have that featured. Of course it is. Shatner, De Niro, George Clooney, Lem, Gleason, Angel, Cagney and Lacey.
942, the wind variable 5 runway 27.
Oh, classic. Right, so yeah, De Niro to is going to be our transition. So let me do it properly. You can change it on either side, by the way. They are interconnected, even though they're running their own calculations. So we're going via Circus. An insert is actually not good enough. We also need the transition. De Niro. And insert. And now, over there, we'll see the line is now complete. So that's good. Look at the texturing there. Outrageous. Alright, so that's the plan. De Niro, flight 190 below, sorry, 190. 90 will be pretty low up there. High terrain here, 11,500 feet, so that's pretty serious. So we've got to be careful of the terrain. Above 190 at that point, which is plenty high, Angel. And then in. Circus is between 12 and 14,000 feet at 270 knots. And then that leads us onto this RLS. Reasonable, lots of step downs because of the terrain and of course the surrounding busy built up area. So I imagine they want it to be as close to continuous without any level offs as possible to keep the engine noise and pollution down, if it makes any difference. And 322 on the minima, so we need to work out which approach we're going to do, and I'll grab the weather shortly. Okay. But they look like, to me, that's the angle on the RLS. 3 degrees. 3 degrees. So normal RLS is nice long runway. So we could do a landing performance, but it's not going to work on there anyway. We could do a landing performance, but reasonably, IFLD wise, in-flight landing distance, we know that we're going to have more than enough room, given that the runways we're expecting to land on are massive. So 3,300 and 2,700. So both of those, low auto brake, flap full, will work. And then if we land on the right, probably Alpha. If we land on the left, we'd be earlier, Hotel 6 or something like that, I would suspect. So I'm going to go for low auto brake, a flap full on the landing.
I believe something with our autopilot is messed up.
Now that shouldn't happen. Why has that happened? This should already be loaded in here. Let's check. Yes, it is. Good. So let's go to ATSU, AOC, weather, weather request, Los Angeles, no H's there. Thanks for the follow, John.
942, I sent a radar contact, I maintain flight level 370.
Oh, there's a Los Angeles Aces now.
Short runway 15 at Burbank, ready to go.
Let's try and get that. In fact, that will now appear up here. Thanks so much, Feral Demon, for the 8.99 super chat. Really appreciate it. Feral says, really struggling to land Phoenix compared to the fly-by-wire. Just landed at Split and felt very high. Then all of a sudden the pappies changed from 2 reds to 4 whites. Confused. Very strange. I'm not sure why, Feral. I found them relatively similar. So yeah, make sure your stick is set to neutral in terms of the sensitivity on the axes. Also, the seating position is going to be slightly different, so try and make sure you've got those something sensible, because it does look slightly different out the window. So some people have adjusted their seat. What I do is I still use the default Fenix seat, but I just pan the camera down to get that view for landing, which is a bit more similar to what we're used to. But thank you very much for your £8.99 super chat. Really appreciate it. It's very kind of you. And thank you so much for supporting the channel, Feral Demon. Really appreciate it. And the pappies are a known bug. There you go. Because there's a bug with the glide slope for sure. I've seen that happen. I think it happens in my video as well. So let's go to my flights. Then we can click on the weather tab. Arrival. D8ist. How clever is this?
Delta 521, can we cruise at 210 instead of 290?
Flight amended out to maintain level 210.
Oh, I may have broken this one now.
November 122 Charlie Alpha.
It normally works.
5000.
It's worked before on our last stream.
3602, the contact, send me the OLA 2 arrival.
No matter.
The
Westerly
Charlie
winds,
altimeter is
17 degrees, 2995 on the altimeter. I do actually have it printed out here, so I'm going to write it down. Not printed out, I have it on the V-Pilot. It is a huge, huge, huge ATIS, rather concerningly. My goodness me. So, it's information uniform.
Cactus 1331, just want to maintain 3000.
3000, Cactus 13.
Scattered 1,000, overcast 1500, so it's just...
Southwest 2372, expedite your climb.
It is
through,
covered in
10,000
cloud
drivers.
and poor visibility, because it's 7K, so just a bit of a haze. It's quite disappointing.
Southwest 2372,
Probably not great weather for early morning. They're using ILS 24 right, 25 left,
Boeing 747.
which is what we expected. Parallel approach in operation, that's
157 traffic at your
fine.
2 o'clock.
Between Los Angeles and Hawthorne.
Westbound climbing out at
Also
9,000,
between 24 left and
say
25 right.
Southwest jet, you know, faster.
Use 5G NOTAMs, the 5G thing, of course. Not something we're used to in Europe. Haven't seen any of that, so how interesting.
Southwest 879,
Use caution for
send me
hang
the
gliding,
two arrival,
bird
the
activity.
pump
Wow,
altimeter
plenty of warnings.
is 2983.
Alright, send me, this is Word 3, 2983, Southwest 879.
Southwest 763, leaving airspace to the southeast. Miles and mile is offline, radar service terminated, frequency change through, good day.
Switching unit coming Southwest 763, see ya.
Yeah, Southwest 2372, you can resume normal speed and climb as needed.
Sorry about that. I am here. That you can hear my chair squeaking around. Just had to go and check something.
39, right turn to the range, taxi parking this frequency.
Yes, so what was I at to? So birds we've got warnings for.
Amtran 463, the wind is 1405, runway 15, cliff takeoff.
Runway 15, cliff takeoff.
Transponder needs to be on. Goodness me, what an ATIS. So many instructions. Feeling like I'm in trouble already. And all that. Yeah, uniform, 24 right, 17 degrees. I didn't get the altimeter in there. We know it's 2995. But they've hidden it and all the warnings about everything else. That is a long ATIS. That's right at the start. So, 2995.
6,000, Qantas 780.
Great, so what I'm going to do now is set 2995.
Qantas Flight 7 Heavy, depart Santa Monica.
Yeah, I don't know what that is converted.
70.
So I would set it there if I could convert it, but what I will do,
Cut out. Do you want me
let's go to Perth.
70, Qantas 7 Heavy.
Depart Santa Monica, VOR heading
2995.
Depart
Temperature 17.
VOR, Santa Monica 070, Qantas 7
and
Heavy.
Cactus 1331, turn right heading
wind
160.
2406.
160, Cactus.
So, light headwind.
1331.
American 2690, maintain 180 knots to GG Tower 120.95.
2406. Can't be full for landing.
180 knots until DG Tower 1.
We'll just stick with the current plan and then we'll set up for the other runway if we need it. So for that, I'm going to go back to Navigraph. Astro says 320 sim pilot sounds like me. Hates reading, loves talking. Yeah,
2123,
that ages was far too long. Not a fan of that. So we're set up for the lefts, 25 left. So 304 minima and
1331
go an altitude of
6 miles from Kobe, turn right heading 220.
2,000 feet.
3,000 till established on the localizer, cleared ILS 24 right approach.
So 2,000 feet.
Sounds
sounds like a lot of getting 24 right.
24 right approach, Cactus 1331.
Especially the cactuses, which is basically what we are.
463,
304. I can do it on this side now. They are completely the same.
Maintain level 300,
I've forgotten again. So much going on here. 304.
Maintain 3,000.
3,000.
There it is. Good. Right, so that is, so flight plan is done, RadNav is done, ILAX 1099, 3 degrees 251 is set. Let's put in KLAX 25 left, just to give me a backup on the distance, and I'll do that on my side, because this does not copy across, that's for each pilot on their own. Performance we've now entered, we've got the stop altitude for the go around of 2,000 feet, and we've got the minima in. Fuel prediction, now 1.2, so yeah, the fuel being very optimistic. Secondary, I'm going to copy the active. So what I can do now in the secondary is change the arrival. So everything's the same, it's got the transition and everything, but let's just put in as it seems quite possible, 24 right. You don't need to confirm it because it's a secondary. Transition of De Niro and via Circus. There it is. So now the secondary flight plan, if I put this to plan,
Turn right heading 280 for now.
is there, the white line onto the right-hand runway. So if we're in the descent and they decide to change our arrival, instead of having to recode everything, in this situation it's going to be, I think, easier for me to go, we have to pull heading, secondary,
And
activate secondary, and then we need to go direct to the next waypoint, otherwise it could be out of sequence. Something else we can do in the secondary is fiddle with the performance. So it's copied over what I've entered, so the weather, it won't copy over the minima. So let's set up the 24 rights.
Cactus 1331, contact tower 120.95, we'll see you.
Over to tower, Cactus 1331.
322. So this is a good example of what you'd use this for. And we'll go around altitude. This says 2. Let's just check it is the same. 2,000 feet for the hold. There we go. Okay, so primary and secondary are completely done. And if we activate the secondary, it will copy across as we want. I'm going to go to constraints now. And it's got lots of descent constraints. I'm going to let the airplane do those in managed. I'm planning to use managed descent for the whole way in. I don't see why not with that many restrictions and us not wanting to annoy air traffic. Seems like a sensible option for me. British Airways 747 says, you mentioned in a video of yours that closing the cargo doors would turn on the yellow hydraulic system without the PTU. Filling the brake reserve, can't you turn off the PTU plus yellow hydraulic instead?
LA Center, Amtrak 463, we're going to be actually disregard, sorry.
So what I meant in my video was, if you're on the ground and your accumulator is reduced, it's powered or regenerates power or pressure from the yellow system. So we would need to power the yellow system. To do that, we can use the yellow electric pump. We can press this. But if we do that on the ground, it will run the PTU and power the green system, which is okay as long as everything's clear. But you don't want to do that unless you know everyone's away from the airplane, there's no engineers, because if they're fiddling with landing gear doors or something and the doors come up, you could kill somebody. So very important you don't do that without knowing that it's safe to power the hydraulics. Typically you'll send someone outside to go and check and give you a thumbs up, something like that. Or when the ground crew open the cargo doors, the yellow pump will run, but the airplane will automatically run the pump and not the PTU. That's the difference. You are right, you could in theory just turn off the PTU and then run the yellow pump as well. That is an interesting simple solution. Not something we do typically because we don't fiddle with these systems that much on the hydraulic panel. It's not normal to turn that off. It's certainly incredibly dangerous to leave it off by accident because it's a completely critical system. So I would say for the need of what we're talking about here, i.e. waiting a couple of minutes or sending someone outside to check, it's probably better to keep it on because it's not used to being turned off like that. And if we forget, or let's say you did that and then you forgot to turn it back on again because you were getting off the airplane or something like that, and the bulb fails, which I have seen before, bulb fail, and the crew will get on, they won't realise the PTU is turned off, and then they could find themselves in a situation where they lose the hydraulic system and then they have both hydraulic systems failed, which would be incredibly nasty. For example, just from a bulb, and I've had something similar. So yeah, that would be my... I can see where you're coming from, and technically you're right. I think that would be fine, but that's not something I would expect to see day to day. Yeah, interesting. It's a constant balance of risk, this job. That's what we're doing, you know. The ultimate safest thing is to never go flying. That's the way you can be 100% safe and never have an aviation accident. And we're constantly balancing the risk from that point onwards to make it as safe as possible while still going. So I can see a few reasons why that would be a risky strategy. Alexander says, how can we contact you for a discussion proposal? You can send me an email on my YouTube about page. My email address is there, and you can send me an email, Alexander. Just to be clear though, if I don't answer your email, I do apologise. I often see them. I just don't always get round to answering them because it's been very, very, very busy right now. Can the MCDU pop out? I don't think the whole thing can. No, just the screen.
20.95, corner 7 of you think.
Because of course it's done. It's a completely 3D one. When should you activate the strobe beacon? I have a video on my channel.
10 descend via the Angel 4 arrival, the Ontario altimeter is 29902.
Angels 4 arrival, altimeter 29902, US Air 310. Right. He's given us the altimeters. We're not going to do that yet. He said descend by the Angels 4 arrival via... I have a horrible feeling he didn't say the point I had in my head. Is that right? Does anyone know? Have we got set up? I think we're set up right. This is the Angels 4 arrival.
American 242 heavy passing 5,000
Via
6,000 on the radar.
Dinero. He said Dinero. That's what we were planning to do.
42 listener,
So descend via. Does that mean we're going to fly these constraints like this? So let's just check. It'd be embarrassing for them not to be done. So we got constraint. I'm in plan. Let's zoom in and let's check. So at Dinero, top of descent.
So it's 79 is information, Peanut.
Dinero at 340. Yeah, but this one's... It says 190. So do I need to be 190 after Dinero? The first major... I mean, that's to me, that's a minimum. So I wouldn't bother with it. So am I okay to stay up here until the airplane decides, and then I just need to be below 300 at Gleason? So let's just check I am below 300 at Gleason. 300, 265. So that's going to work out. So just fly the constraints. Okay, let's do that. Yeah, Gleason is the first restriction. Good, that's what I thought. Okay, good. So there. Just making sure they didn't for some reason expect us to be at these levels, which are very low. So good. So yeah, well, the airplane's going to handle it. I'm going to do a managed descent then. Interesting, he's just said descend with it. So am I free to just keep descending all the way in? I don't need to get a cleared level each time. That's good. You do get that in Europe, but relatively rare. Usually it's used later on in the approach. So all the way down to Boyle at 14. Let's just check. It is making those restrictions. There it is, Boyle. Perfect. And you can see the restrictions on the PFD, because, oh sorry, on the ND, because we have constraints selected. So that's all worked out nicely. I am indeed on that, Sim Maxwell.
130, Everett 65.
So yeah, I have a video on the channel about the lights, all about the lights and when you would use them. So in this case, I'm going to set the altitude. I'll just set the last restriction. Actually, I think I'll set the lowest flight level. So let's set, I'll set 190 in the window. I'm going to do that now so I don't forget. Because in the Airbus, it won't automatically descend just because I've set that in the window. So I'll get towards my arrow and then I'll do a managed descent and just let it obey the restrictions. Let the airplane do the strain. Why not? Here we are, part of the world I have never flown over. Wow. This is the real treat of Microsoft Flight Simulator, is that I know that the view out the window of the Airbus in Microsoft Flight Simulator flying over Rome looks similar to what it does in real life. I know it does because I've seen it, and it always takes my breath away, and the weather as well. So the magic of that is when I fly it to Los Angeles or somewhere, I get the impression that this is probably a pretty good representation of what it would look like coming in over the terrain. And I can't believe what a desert it is. I would not have predicted it. I suppose I should have predicted it, but yeah.
Walker 788 LA Center, you ready to contact, climb attain 50370.
There it is. Because I've never done this, certainly not in the daylight. Oh, please don't tell me I missed it.
LA Center, any chance I can get the 25 left?
It'll be one left.
Ainsley's landing in Skiathos. Excellent, well done.
Delta 79 request to RNAV Yankee runway 31 left.
Yaroslav says, hello, just got back from my training. Glad to see you're still streaming. We're still going, Yaroslav. Yeah, it's been a long old stream, as ever. We're at 3 hours now.
LA Center, squawk 7271.
Service ceiling is 39,000 feet. Actually, it's 398, I believe. But yeah, 39,000 is the highest level we'll ever go to.
Everett 65, descend to maintain 4,000.
Mojave Desert, there we go. It is a desert. Makes sense.
Down to 4,000, Everett
I suppose...
65.
Where's...
Everett 65, turn left heading 120.
Turn left heading 120, Everett 65.
Land Chile 602 to be ILS or...
Is Las Vegas near here?
25 left.
I thought it'd be one of these, but no. Is it further behind us? We've already passed it, I guess. I can find out.
Alaska 316, PDC coming.
KLAS is 6, so it's just off to the right. Is that Las Vegas? KLAS? 86 miles. So it is one of these, I think. No, sorry, it's out here. Oh, it's back east still. Sorry, yeah, 006. No, 06 or 006? 7. So I think it's it's over here. Yeah, it's one of these. KLAS would be one of this here. Good, that was a mystery solved that didn't need solving.
Chile 602 at Trindo, cleared the RNAV GPS.
I'm going to keep this on 25 left so that I can just keep my awareness of which one we are currently doing. He hasn't told us the difference yet, so seatbelts can come off until we get a bit later on in the descent. Area 51 won't be far. Yeah, we must be going over it.
313, descend via the Angel 4 arrival. The Ontario altimeter is 2.
Landing here says it's crazy how big the USA is. You get deserts, glaciers, swamps, and mountains all in one country. Yeah, it is amazing. It is amazing. Almost time to start down. Oh, it's just spectacular, this simulator. This is breathtaking to me because it's so cool. I've never done this. I know people who have, and you know, I'd love to do it. And here we are. And this is, I feel like this is a legitimate taster of what it might feel like.
Maintain 3,000. Down to 3,000, Everett 65.
Ah, thanks. 295 is between 1014 and 1015. Thanks. So let's go for 1014. Thank you very much for that one, Peter. Lauren would like a wing view. I aim to please.
Everett 65, turn right heading 160.
Turn right heading 160, Everett 65.
Niso, thanks so much for your $20 super chat. Very kind of you, Niso. Niso says, I was the frontier on frequency. Thanking you. Thanks again for all the knowledge. Just this morning I watched, learned, implemented, and got to say thank you. Didn't even notice that the flight I watched was in the US. Niso, thank you so much. That's very generous of you. It was great to hear you on the that's him. Yeah, it was a good laugh. We're not used to that. Don't hear so much of that in Europe, which is funny enough. It's where we spend all our time. So thank you so much. Thank you for that super chat. Really very kind of you. Really appreciate it. I'm so glad the videos have helped you out. It's an absolute pleasure. So thank you. Very, very generous. Great to see you on that sim. Excellent.
65, 8 miles from Kobe.
Right.
Heading 220,
let's go.
3,000
Mac, Des. I'm going to let the airplane take all the strain for me.
210.
So it's nice weather out here, and then there's going to be. Is it like a smog over the city? Is it all the pollution that causes that haze? I mean, it doesn't sound like a very pleasant day so far. Maybe that's a morning sort of mist thing. Landing gear 1 says, I once flew over Slough.
521, descend via the Rounders 2 arrival, runway 1 left transition.
James says, how difficult would it be for you if you fancied emigration to the US and flying? Would you need to retrain? I would need to convert my license, which would involve doing a lot of exams. I'd also, of course, need the US immigration system to allow me in.
Delta 521, descend via the Rounders 2 arrival, runway 1 left transition. The altimeter is 2995.
Chalky says, is the flight deck sound similar? It is similar, but there's some adjustments to go, I think. But it is similar. So here we go. It's going to meet the VDEV profile, and then it's going to nose down.
I need the read back on the runway transition, please.
Oh, can you say that again?
Descend via the Rounders 2 arrival, runway 1 left transition. The altimeter is 2995.
Surprised we didn't get in trouble. I think we didn't say that properly, or maybe I mumbled an answer. Thrust idle.
Arrival to 1 left transition at a altimeter 2995.
And he says, always better to fly over Slough than drive through it. The infamous LA haze, says Video Man Chris. Smog. There we go, yeah. Because it's you know, iPhones and things in England, they show you the air quality index, and some of the Apple Watch faces automatically show you, and they're always just saying good. So I assume in Los Angeles they don't, because it seems a bit pointless. It almost never says anything different than good in the UK. which I would take as a privilege.
Would you like it to
Because there's plenty of pollution in the UK. I'm not suggesting for a second the UK is green or something like that, but yeah.
The arrival.
Alright.
Cappuccini says there is a pilot shortage over here. Come on down. Yeah, I know. I think there may be an option for
American 502, turn
for pilots at the moment, but it would the delays in getting through retraining and everything could make that not as practical. Maxwell says, what type of screens are used in the 320? CRT or LCD? So these are the LCD fit. That's what the Fenix has. It only comes with the LCD, otherwise known as EIS2.
JetBlue 2123 at Circus.
Sam says, do you walk around in the cockpit in real life? You can, you can move your head around and get some nice views, and sometimes it's nice to look out the side. If you're going out to use the toilet or something, it's sometimes quite, you can stand here and you get a really good, you'll be higher up. I need to assign a key to go up and down. I've forgotten what I assigned it to. But yeah, you get a great view looking down, and you can see all the instruments, and you can see out and down out the windows. So sometimes I'll do that. Just for a second.
7B Alpha, cross 15 left, 15 right, southwest 1003.
Ali says the London Underground is one of the most polluted areas in the world. There you go, and that's all run on electricity. Ralcon says, do not forget that funny seniority system in the US. Indeed. So joining an airline later in your career in America could be quite tricky. Wisbowski says, as a Brit living in the US, I can assure you the immigration process is long and convoluted. Yes, yeah, I can imagine it is.
LA Center.
I hope you're having a good time though, Wisbowski. There's plenty of places in America I'd love to spend more time in.
Yes, sir. 310. Would you like the left side or the right side?
We'll take the left side, please. US Air 310.
Yes, sir. 310 at Circus. You're cleared the GPS Yankee 25 left approach.
At Circus, clear GPS Yankee 25 left. US Air 310.
Left 316 for the 15 right roll.
Left 316, wind 1405, runway 15.
Right, so we're 91 miles away. We're at 26,000 feet. So we are perfectly on profile, and we've got a lot of room to go. So let's not get too excited. But now I need to find that approach. GPS Yankee 25 left. Of course. Now, is that realistic? Would they not just use the ILS? In Europe they would, I would expect anyway. But I'm certainly not in a position to argue. GPS Yankee 25 left. The reason I said left was because I thought it'd be easier. Because we were already set up for it. So what's the difference here? Similar sort of route. In we go. 3 degrees final by Gigi. 1900 feet. Short final approach. Under at 3.6. So we're going to let the airplane decide all of those constraints.
I'll have lower for you shortly.
Oh, I don't know what WAS is. I don't know how to use WAS. 2000 for the go around. Minima is 365, so pretty high. We'll use the LNABina 575, so even higher. Right, here we go then. So my secondary flight plan also completely useless, so let's just change over the primary. They wouldn't actually, we could probably just fly the ILS. Barely know.
Delta 942 leaving the airspace to the east, Albuquerque's offline, radar service terminated.
I'll have Yankee 25 left. Dinero via Circus. Insert. Plan. Zoom in. Let's check. So if this happens to you in the real world, the other pilot will keep flying, and the one pilot will go into the manuals and start doing what I'm doing now. The charts, I should say. So there it is. Crucial things. Non-precision approach. We're going to do another one. So, Gigi. Is that a Family Guy reference? I'm sure I've got that wrong. 3 degrees, 1900 feet. That's the final descent point. We must go via that point. It seems likely with a straight line like this, we'll go via all these points anyway. So there's no risk of us getting left high or cutting any corners. It's already a straight line. So that makes this quite simple. It removes some of the risks in that sense. So we need to get down to... Now, we had trouble with this last time because I wasn't level. So I'm actually going to... What's the Honda restriction? Honda is at 3.6. Okay, and then we're going to descend from there. I'm going to arm the approach. We may not get into outstar before this point for this exact reason. So
turn right heading 070.
I will just make do. Jonathan says, can you not ask for the ILS and see what he says? Yeah, I could do. And in real life, if you're not sure, then go for it. But I'm gonna take the challenge. I'll have Yankee 25 left, and I can regret it later. Because it's good to show what the Fenix can do. We haven't had RNAVs available, so I feel like the controller's testing us almost to check we know what we're doing. Little do they know we have no idea, or maybe they're suspicious. But there we go. So that's the non-precision. I'm going to use final lap again. get myself down, and then arm the approach somewhere around there. Okay. Oh, that's very nice. Send via the arrival, you get your approach clearance prior to circus. Right, there we go. So yeah, we're getting a very, very helpful message from Los Angeles there. So they are helping us out. So thank you very much to Los Angeles Center. Yeah, so we're going to descend via the arrival. We're going to wait for clearance to actually fly the RNAV. But that's what we're going to do. I want to give it a go. Yeah, that's it really. So final lap from Gigi at 1900 feet. Same configuring points, same landing. That's the only. That's it really. So that's flight plan changed. Just put in the new minima and the new go around altitude 575. So you can see that I'm busy doing this, and the aeroplane, I don't know if those of you, those keen-eyed of you will have seen that it's about to level off. So and shortly I'm going to get high. So I'm going to now start putting in the next constraint. So our next constraint is 14. We've got a few. I'm going to put 14 in the window, just to let the airplane carry on. But what I will do now is set the altimeter.
050, maintain 5, climb and maintain 5,000.
29905. Okay, so that's the altimeter. We've got 14,000 blue on both sides. We will need to update that later, but the next restriction above... Actually, let's put in the 12. Because the airplane will make these constraints. It will make boil at 14 and circus between 12 and 14. And it will make 270 knots. You know, it's doing it all. It's great. So someone will be focused on that. And the final thing was for the go-arounds. The stop altitude of 2,000 feet. So that was already in there from the RS. Got that minima in. Got the weather in. We're all set. Final lap approach then.
Number 65, turn right heading 080.
The final thing we're going to check, as we've got a bit of time, is the missed approach coded from the threshold? It's quite important we know this, and I'll show you why. Yes, it is. So the approach flies all the way from Ladle down to Los Angeles, 25 left, and then there's the go-around. So what this means is, because we're not flying offset, when we come down to visual and we disconnect the autopilot, in the old days we would turn off the flight directors on a non-position, turn on the birds like that, and then fly it with the birds and no guidance. These days, final lap is very good, and on this spec of aircraft, it will actually run down a bit lower. So I'm going to leave the guidance in all the way down. We need to disconnect it by the minimum use height of 250 feet above the ground. And landing elevation is about 100 feet. Yeah, it's not far off sea level. So I'm going to descend it in final lap, disconnect the autopilot, and just leave it. I can leave the flight directors on just like I would an ILS, because, and the only reason I can do that is because the missed approach is coded from the threshold. That's very important. If it's not, let's say the missed approach is coded from a point further back or off to the side or anything like that, or maybe a bit later on, who knows, then in those circumstances we couldn't do what I'm doing here. But that'll be the plan. So we're going to disconnect the autopilot. It will then, as we cross the threshold, it will go past the final point, and then it will give up, and it will say, oh, I don't know what you're doing, and it will triple click as we cross the threshold, and it will revert to heading, vertical speed and heading, the basic modes. But by then the autopilot's out. It doesn't matter. We just land the airplane. So you may hear on this one a triple click as we cross the threshold. This is not something I've shown on stream before. It's not something I've seen modeled quite like this. So that is the plan for today. Goodness me, that was a lot to talk about. Can an A320 fly from the States to Europe? I would have thought so, yes. From the East Coast, exactly, might be. Yep, A318s have done it as commercial routes. Yigi's reference to Gianna Bryant, daughter of Kobe Bryant. There you go, thanks, Leo. And Yigi says, I've done a few RNAV approaches in the Phoenix. About 1/3 of the time, the airplane pitches up and almost stalls. Quite weird. I think you ran into it as well. Ah, thanks, Elitis. So I have seen exactly the same thing. When we went to Zakynthos, I did it. I practiced it, and then it was fine. That's for idle. But then it didn't do it the second time. I'm going to do my best here to see if we can avoid that bug. Yeah, interesting. Keep an eye on it. If it makes us go around, we've got plenty of fuel. We're arriving with over 3.5 tons, so we're over fueled, as it were. We're going to go to Zeran and then left to Cattley. So there's no problem. I'm absolutely happy to fly to Zeran and Cattley. We have nav in the go-around, but we will check. So if we do need to go around, I'll say go-around flaps. I'll move the thrust levers through to Toga, move the flaps in one stage. Then, positive climb, gear up, and we'll head over to 2,000 feet. However, if the FCU altitude is below us, we'll just cancel the approach. by pressing the approach push button, going from there. If it's above us though, if this happens later on in the approach, then it'll be a full go around. It's quite a low platform altitude, so I would say in this situation, because of that 1900 feet platform altitude, there's quite a high chance of us flying a discontinued approach from above, i.e. it'll be on this leg that the airplane, if that bug does occur, it will be on this leg, so we wouldn't do a full go around in that case. We'll just level off at 1900 and then climb 100 feet and fly the go around, reconfigure. Bit more non-standard, so it takes a careful bit of thought to get that right. Right, next one is above 10.
You can plan the GPS Yankee 25
Thrust side with theirs.
Alright, we'll plan GPS Yankee 25.
Triple click.
Approach 342.
That would have been the vertical speed earlier that's now gone.
25 left.
The other Jason says it's quite possible this controller's making it a bit hard on you on purpose. Well, who can blame him? Who can blame them? Sorry, I'm missing the chat. Very busy in the descent, of course, as you'd expect. John Doe, if it's not sequencing your flight plan when you're loading in at the start, and you have like a space between the points, just press clear and clear the space, and that would join up the end of your departure to your first flight plan waypoint if they're not lining up properly. Right, next is 9 and then 8, so I'm actually just going to put... I'm just going to put 1900 in. I don't see why not. We're on altitudes. That's the platform altitude. The airplane's doing a fantastic job making the constraints. You see, there we go. So,
65, you've gone through the localizer, cancel approach clearance, turn left.
Here's the thing.
180, maintain 5,000.
Tarok is above 9,000 feet, but you'll notice it says out magenta 5,000 feet, and in the window I have 1,900 feet. This is very unusual. It is correct behavior. What it's saying is, we're definitely not going to be at 9,000 feet at Tarok, so I don't need to level off there. So it ignores it. The first level off it predicts is at gate, or it's at 5,000 feet. So that's why it's showing it as in the window and out magenta. It actually doesn't think we're going to have to level off for any of these. This will be a continuous descent. That's what's going on there.
Delta 521 cleared the ILS 19.
Lola says, I followed your recent tutorial but can't manage to get the autopilot on. You simply press one of these buttons in the middle here, AP1 or AP2.
Apologies, one left approach, Delta 521.
You may have a issue if your controls are interfering. If you're moving the controls at the same time, it won't let you connect. I have a video coming on after takeoff and climb, as well as a video today which talks about the autopilot.
LA Center, feeling a disconnect. I promised a bit more than what I can show here. I'm sorry for the inconvenience.
I will see you later, man.
Ah, I hope they come back soon. That's always a bit stressful.
LA Center, good morning.
Airborne Geek says, can't you just set the final altitude and let the autopilot follow constraints? Indeed, that's what we're doing.
Altitude 360 on final.
707, PDC coming.
Landing lights, yes, 10,000 feet, let's get them on. A lot of airlines don't do this now, but maybe in America they still do, for sure. Let's get the seatbelts on. So how far are we from landing? Just 26 miles, 8,000 feet, 816.24. I'd say we're getting a little bit high. This is a little bit sporty, but it's to do with these constraints. It's obviously still going to level off at 5, so this could be quite a tight final. It could be quite close to being a bit high. Interesting.
Southwest 1003 LA, the squawk code is 7362.
Yeah, if you're above max landing weight, Yaroslav, then yeah, a bit of holding, just to burn it off, or take longer vectors. That's what you do, really. We don't land overweight. It's a huge, and it's a safety issue, and it's an inspection issue, an engineering issue if you land overweight. So we won't do it routinely unless there's an emergency reason that we need to. Samuel says, I've been watching your videos recently, and despite the fact I'm not an expert on Airbus systems, I have been learning a lot. You're the best. Thank you very much, Samuel. Glad you've been enjoying them. Connor says, in the US, I'm pretty sure taxi on below 10,000, landing on when landing clearance. Yeah, so taxi light doesn't work on the Airbus because it's in the nose gear, so it's tucked away at the moment.
Mexico 526 at Seaview, cleared the GPS Yankee 25 left approach.
Change the VOR. I'll just leave it auto tuning. We're not using the VOR. And we've got the threshold in here, which is correct for this arrival. So we're now at 6,600, 21 miles. Yeah, it's okay.
242, reduce speed to 250.
Yeah, if he gives a sudden speed change, that could mess up the planning. Right, now, this checklist. There we are. This checklist has one of the things I dislike in it. So anyway, the checklist says, approach checklist. ECAM status is checked, all looks good. Approach type and runway, RNAV, Yankee 25 left is confirmed. Minima, we've got 575 is set. Approach phase is not active, but BARF is altimeter 29995. The approach phase, I'm going to let the airplane activate it itself. After landing, vacating to the right, and then we're going to have to just hope that Los Angeles are forgiving. And here's the city. Amazing. That's so cool. I'm going to get rid of the CFB so I don't actually click on anything. Look at that. Just sprawling metropolis. Amazing. You're welcome, Yaroslav. Anything you prefer with the Airbus over Boeing? Yes.
Air Canada 193, left turn direct
This.
over, resume the Orca 5 departure.
Unbelievably good. So here we go. It's going to level off at 5, and then it's going to activate the approach phase. The magenta D is there, so that's the decel point. Decel, we're about to reach it, so it's going to work out nicely. It's activated the approach. There's the VDEF scale. Alt magenta, and it's going to level off at 5, and there we go. Now it's going to make the next one at 3.6, so this is all working beautifully. The Airbus is great when you let it do everything. This doesn't work so well when there's other airplanes right in front of you and they start changing your speed restrictions or your altitude restrictions, and then suddenly the Airbus's plan that it had in its head goes out the window. It's not so good at changing plans, but it's great at flying a plan it already had. It's very good at it. So now we're at thrust idle, 3.4 tons of fuel, plenty of fuel, and we're decelerating. I'm going to need to keep it decelerating now because we're a little bit fast and we're coming in sort of straight in. I think that was us. Blocked.
American 242 at Circus, cleared the RNAV Yankee 25 left approach.
We didn't get that clearance yet.
Yes sir, 310, contact the tower 120.905.
120.95. US Air 310. Thanks for help, mate. There's a level off now.
Los Angeles Center, FedEx 495.
12095. I'm going to say we are clear for the approach, judging by that clearance. Let's go to flat 1. Let the airplane continue slowing down. 12095. Okay, all looking good. Los Angeles Tower, US Air 310. RNAV Yankee 25 left. We are 10 miles.
US Air 310, Los Angeles Tower, winds 240 at 5 knots, runway 25 left, clear to land.
Clear to land 25 left, US Air 310.
US Air 310, where are you going to park at?
Stand by. Anyway, we're getting close now. I'm going to drop the gear because we're fast. So gear's coming down. There's 2,500, which makes sense. But yeah, this is a tight restriction. So we've got gear, we've got full speed brake. Oh, we might not make this. I'll just tell him we'll just take a terminal on the right. US Air 310, we'll just take a terminal on the south side if that's okay. There we go. Flap 2. Flap 2 coming out. I think we'll be alright now actually. Got the gear and the flap out. Speed brake can go away shortly. Okay, speed brake away. Let's see if we can get that landing checklist back in time. Flaps to 3. Make sure we arm the ground spoilers, and flaps to full. It's gone out star because we need to arm final lap. There it is, final lap. So easy to unravel on these non-precision approaches. You've got to be very careful. So it is commanding a nose down. Bit of a glide set from above. Landing lights going on. Just that small distraction there, so you just can't let it happen. We're going to put 2,000 feet in the window now because we are below it. 900 feet per minute, working out nicely, so actually we're not too far off profile. Thanks very much for the follow. Right, let's take the landing checklist. So, landing checklist, auto brake is low, missed approach altitude 2,000 feet set, ECAM MO, landing no blue. We are clear to land, we're taking a terminal on the south side. There's final lap working nicely. And we are, of course, visual out the window now.
Tower, Southwest 813 established.
Goodness me.
Southwest 813, Los Angeles Tower, traffic landing on the south complex. Prior to your arrival, wind 240 at 5 knots.
Look at the city. We are stable and visual. not bad performance really. Let me see
Southwest A320
if I can get the recorder up and running in time. I've totally forgotten to do it and all that. Fun.
Roger.
Flight recorder is now on. Thanks very much. Okay, so final lap mode. As you can see, it's all engaged nicely. LDEV, it should show LDEV here. It shouldn't have really shown it on takeoff, I believe. But there we go. Doing a great job. Quite aggressive in its altitude keeping there.
US Air 310, plan to roll out all the way down to Hotel 9 at Hotel 9 for me.
Hotel 9, US Air 310. Okay, that sounds like a long roll.
763 when you get down to the
You would check that, but I'm going to look for Hotel 9. Can someone tell me when we get there? Because can I get to the charts in time? This is why having the EFB on your side really does help. And having another pilot really helps. Forget that. Right, autopilot off. So, we can use the autopilot down to 250 above the ground, but I'm not going to do that today. We've got it out already. But what we're going to see now is that flight directors will stay in final lap, and they'll keep final lap quite a long way down. 3 reds, but that's not a major issue. Quite a wide runway. Looks like a 60-meter runway to me. Oh, getting bumpy. Yeah, and then you'll hear it triple click and revert to heading VS over the runway.
100.
Yeah, Pappies definitely aren't lining up right anymore. Don't know what's going on with those.
40, 30, 10.
Idle.
W763 R9.
A little bit high there.
Docker wind 240 at 5 knots.
There's a touchdown.
5 right, clear for takeoff.
On F Docker 25 right, clear
Reverse
for takeoff.
idle. Oh. Manual brakes.
Tower UPS 297.
I have no idea where the exit is.
UPS 29.
I have just the default scenery.
Runway 25 left. Yeah. Alpha.
Should we take this one?
25 left by Alpha UPS.
It said Hotel 9. Hotel 7. No, that's not enough. We need to keep going.
Sarah 310. Hotel 9, Lima, hold short, runway 25 right. Traffic is departing on the runway. Once he gets airborne, I'll get you across.
Hotel 9, Lima, hold short 25 right. US Air 310. That's 8. This looks like 9. And then we're holding short of the next runway. Right, we made it. Bit of a float, but massive runway with a rollout. No issue there. And there you go. As we sail, the flight directors reverted over the threshold with that triple click. Very cool that that's modelled. I like that a lot. There they go.
Looks like you're at Charlie 9. Charlie 9, left on Bravo 25 right.
Hotel 9, Lima, 25 right. Where's Lima? Is this Lima here? This is where you need 2 pilots. It's just, you know, pilot flying needs to be looking out the window at this point because you don't want to roll onto the other runway or something. I think let's get one of the ground shots.
310, cross runway 25 right at Lima. Go up to Kilo 1, make a right, and park right into the Tom Bradley terminal. They'll be waiting for you.
Lima, cross 25 right, Kilo 1, and then into the Tom Bradley terminal, US Air 310. The what?
American 198, you copy your taxi instructions?
Right. Lima is straight in front of us, so let's get across the runway and deal with it on the other side because he's obviously busy. We can leave the flaps, we can leave the speed brakes. They've gone down because we went forward idle. But yeah, we can leave this as it is. We just need to cross that runway. Leave all the strobes on.
American 198, 25 right via Bravo.
Wow, what an approach. Yeah, I turned down the traffic. I will turn up the traffic, I think, because the performance there was better than I imagined. So I reckon we could have had slightly higher AI traffic. So I'm going to get over Lima. To get off the runway. Let's just make sure we get to Kilo 1. Kilo 1 is up there, so follow Lima and then take Kilo 1 on the right and just park straight in.
297, you fully ready?
Bradley International, that's what he said. So we're just parking up here. Kilo 1 is the second one up here. Excellent.
Holding short at Foxtrot, and I'll let you know when
right. Speed brakes disarmed. Flaps up. Strobe lights off. Landing lights off. That was great fun. It's great with the controllers when they are like that, because it's quite fun to get a taste of the real America for the approach. So that was good fun. I enjoyed that. But yeah, My mistake there was we briefed specifically that was going to be quite challenging to descend the aircraft on that final, but what I didn't do was actually act on that enough. We should have been a bit slower, I think, would have made that easier, because I had to put the gear out quite early. Worked out fine. The gear is very powerful at decelerating the aircraft in the real aircraft just as well, so it's great that it worked. But yeah, that's definitely it. Tom Bradley. There we go. So it's Tom Bradley. Okay. Well, the International Airlines Park. Very cool. So I have got the replay up and running. I don't know how it's going to work out. We shall find out. I haven't used it yet with the Phoenix on a stream. Autopilot disconnect. You need to bind Nubrix to the command autopilot off. Very specifically must be that command. Right, well, we don't need both engines, so I'm going to shut down engine number 2. It's been at idle for a... What's going on there?
American LA Tower, American 1.
There we go. So, modern Airbuses are what's known as single engine taxi without APU capable. So you can actually just turn off the engine master 2 and we can run the yellow pump just as we did on the way out. But we don't need the APU just yet, and the reason for that is there's a clunk. It's great, simulated so well. It has a system to make sure the fire bottles are armed either way. Older Airbuses did not have that.
Cross runway 24 left, join Echo to the gate.
Not sure we're going to find the gate here. Thanks for the follow to first Sean.
Clouds around 1800 above sea level 1500.
APU, we do need it for when we park. I'm enjoying the USA Safari, Josh. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video and enjoyed watching me sweat on approach, do please hit the like button on the way out. It makes a big difference to the channel. Really appreciate it. Arriving on stands, nose lights can go off. Don't want to blind the ground crew. Oh, that was a bit late on the turn.
LA Tower, Everett 65, good morning.
Everett 65, LA Tower, good morning.
LA Tower, American 242 Heavy on the...
That's still okay.
Yankee, runway 25 left.
American 242, LA Tower, winds 240 at 5.
Come on, airplane, you can do it.
5 left, clear to land.
Pinch Gamer, I have indeed got a YouTube channel. 320 Sim Pilot on YouTube, loads of tutorials and guides, and that's where we stream as well. Streams available on both YouTube and Twitch. But that's where the tutorials are.
Negative. I had the same issue over with Las Vegas Tower when I first checked in, so I don't know what the deal is.
Okay.
This must be pretty uphill.
Roger.
Just checking the brakes weren't accidentally binding there.
Tower to Mexico 526 on the...
Oh, that's cool. I really enjoyed that. So thank you all for your help, because it was a lot of help from you all for that approach. Because it says the cognitive load at points of that approach was insane. Is that something you just adapt to? It's part of the job. So its prioritization is a big part of being an airline pilot. So on approach there, when I'm streaming, I must admit, I sacrifice some things for other things. There's no way on final I'd get that involved in the charts if I was pilot flying. But the thing is, you have another pilot who could, so the other pilot would be able to give you an idea of where that exit was and so on. Now, you guys are really great, but the only problem is in immediate situations like that, it's obviously not possible because there's a lag between my stream and you guys being able to answer. There we go. Right, brake is set. APU is available. Shutting down engine number 1. Don't need that yellow electric pump anymore. Let the M1 decelerate below about 10%. Beacon off. Let the APU warm up a little bit, and there we are. Ah, here comes the jetty, all automatic. Really love that part of the Phoenix.
American 143, Los Angeles.
And let's disconnect from VATSIM. They've been really great.
American 143 to Los Angeles.
Just confirm you want the
Just another message before they do.
Right?
Yeah, they've been really great with us. Good fun. So we've finally done it. I've talked about it. I've been saying we will go to Los Angeles. Well, JFK is going to be next, isn't it? We've got to get back over to the other side of America. Maybe we'll go a bit north. Yeah, we were a bit south this time, so we'll go a bit north and head round. But isn't this just a remarkable add-on? What a treat. So much to talk about. So many details I haven't had a chance to see. But yeah, even it even flew that RNAV approach. And something I like is it's so predictable. Like, I could see the speeds getting fast dropping the gear gave exactly the amount of drag I was hoping for. Airplane decelerated, could get flap 2 out, and then we configured it, which is something that we would do in the real aircraft. So yeah, just lovely. So really, really great liveries included as well. Anyway, thank you all for coming along, because it's been a real treat having everybody here to help me out flying in America. We'll do plenty more of this, but we'll of course be back in the UK as well. We've got down air virtual sectors we need to fly, and plenty of fun approaches we need to go and test out using the RNAV capabilities. Queenstown is cooling, obviously we need to do that. I have got the Northwest livery installed as well. Original operator 320, there you go. Los Angeles to Seattle, that's a good idea. Yeah, that's a good one, definitely. So do we want to try and do the replay? It might not work. You know, it could be a bit of an issue. Do we want to risk it? You guys let me know, or we can just end with some nice music and I can just show you the exterior model of the 320. Isn't it great though? This really feels like a living system. There you go, that rudder's swung to the sides. It's just perfect. Chocks not in. Oh yeah, chocks are in on the nose gear. Igloo Crew's voting to risk it. Video man says San Diego. Yeah, we could do a little hop to San Diego. Risk it for that biscuit. Okay, we're going to have to try, aren't we? So I'm going to stop the recording. Oh, here we go. I'm going to hit replay. I don't know what's going to happen. Wish us luck. Well, could have been worse. The engines came on. The slight issue, let's not go in the cockpit for sure, is the flaps. So let me just pause the replay, put it on the ground. Let's see if we can work this out. Because it'd be nice if we could figure out a way to... I like shutting down the airplane at the end of a stream. It's quite, you know, good to do. No. Okay, here's an idea. That's the replay stopped. We're back on stand like we were. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run the yellow pump and put the flaps out here on stand. That's something you might do after a bird strike or something like that. This way, we're going to have flaps, and then we can just do the replay, but it'll be outside and windows only. I will certainly not be showing you the cockpit because it's not representative of this airplane. This is a proper add-on. It does work. Look at that, the hydraulics work when you're running them like this. That's just great. Right, well, flaps are out. Now, let's try that again. External view, thank you very much. So the engines do come on, which is pretty cool. So we can have a look at the landing. If I could stop fighting with the camera. Another thing I noticed is the speed brakes have a habit of popping up and down in the replay. Right side is an amazing view. So we'll do that for the music and the outro. Luigi says, hello, just noticed you're a real pilot. I'm really afraid to fly, even though from time to time I have to cause work. Do you have some good advice for people like me who get nervous during flights, sweating a lot and getting more and more anxious till a plane lands? Thank you, Luigi. So what I recommend is Fear of Flying course. They run them, airlines run them. If you're in the UK, I think EasyJet and British Airways, but there are others out there. Fear of Flying course is what you need. There you'll get all the information and you'll have experts who've dealt with this before and know what the best advice is to give you. It's incredibly safe, but I know you've heard that before, so that's what I'm going to recommend. Yeah, Fear of Flying course, if you can find one from an airline. Highly, highly recommend it. We are indeed disconnected from VATSIM. I'm using flight recorder for the replay. So here we go then. Here is the landing. It's a cool view. I like that one. Beautiful livery. Absolutely love this livery. So if anyone's watching now, the Fenix is a spectacular add-on. This is just the replay, which doesn't work quite as well. I think those engines are just windmilling, actually. There you go. Here's the landing. Bit of a float, wide runway. Quite common. And there's the touchdown. Right place, right time, in the touchdown zone. Nice, gentle on the rollout. We had a bit of a wobble as I was trying to make sure I got the right exit. MS Jen says this channel has the best camera work. Oh, that's great to hear. I love the camera work. It's one of something I really enjoy. So it's nice to know it's appreciated. I quite have fun doing it. So there we go. So yeah, those engines aren't up and running because I did shut down, of course. So what I'm going to do is put it up here. And I'm going to say thank you all once again so much for coming along. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you for the very kind donations. Thank you for all the new subscriptions and followers. We've had plenty, so it's great to have you all here. There'll be more live streams, videos, guides, and tutorials coming to the channel very soon. This simulator is running so much smoother. I tested it earlier, so I turned all the settings down, but I think I need to turn them back up a bit. This is running a bit too good. I'm wasting graphics here. We could have better graphics, but yeah. Anyway, thank you. So there's new joiners, more videos, and plenty of guides and tutorials coming over the next few days on the channel. Also, I'd like to say thank you to those who very kindly donated. Really appreciate it. It makes a big difference. So thank you so much. And of course, thank you to the moderators for looking after us on both YouTube and Twitch. If you've commented and chatted along, really appreciate it. And of course, if you haven't and you've just watched, also really appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. So there'll be plenty more exciting things we're going to do with the Fenix, no doubt. But for now, keep safe and well. We'll see you again in another video or live stream very soon. Let's get a nice camera view for you. Ignore that noise, ignore that noise, ignore that noise. So we want right-hand side, I hear. It's right-hand side. Oh, there's the city. Perfect. Hear that PTU running. Yeah, the sounds will all be a bit wrong, but you're going to listen to my music anyway. Video Man Chris says, another great landing. Thanks very much, Video Man Chris. Really appreciate it. Thank you to everyone for coming along. Really appreciate it. Right, keep safe. Bye-bye.